I was trying so hard to let everyone know I was not trans. John!
We're in the simulation, people.
Fuck, John!
Punches me 3 times real quick in the eyeball.
So it was like this slowly dying of my dreams.
500
But,
downloads,
like,
500 shows.
It's absolutely...
Welcome to Born in the 80s, episode 500. I'm your host, as always, John_Danger, joined by my co-hosts.
Matt Haig.
TJ. Oh yeah, it's me, TJ May.
I'm Spanky Works on the internet, but you don't got to call me Spanky Works. You can just call me Spanky. Spanky Works.
And
I don't say that every time. I usually fuck it
we're
up.
this week we're joined by our guest, illustrious former podcast host of Born in the 80s, Mercury Stardust LLC.
Yeah, that's me.
I don't know if she's the LLC.
Yeah, I'm
I
the
think
whole
she has an
company.
LLC.
I think. Well, you know what? I like it. It's my rapper name, Mercury Stardust LLC.
Mercury, I want to start with a little bit of history from Born in the 80s since this is episode 500. But if you get this question wrong, you're a bad person. What is the episode number that you started on?
Okay.
That's wrong. You're never going to guess that. But I want to guess. I want you to tell me that you were one guest on that episode, but there was another guest on that episode. Who is that?
On my very first episode.
Uh-huh.
Oh shit!
You were
Was it-
you brought another guest with you.
Did I really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't remember this. But also, wasn't it in the 70s? Wasn't it like
No.
72 or something? What was
Episode
it, though?
37.
Oh, I was early.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, early riser. Yeah.
Yes.
Holy shit.
This is
then
before you
who-
were a host. This was a guest episode, and you brought
Oh.
some. I think you would be mad if I said something, but someone with you.
What the fuck?
Where are you going?
Where are you going with this?
I
A
don't
little
know where he's going
little
with it, so-
monster
Oh,
by the name of
Oh.
Snicker.
Snickers the monster. Holy shit,
I was
John.
so worried about it.
John, I was so nervous. I was like, John.
What did we
you
do?
asshole.
What did I do? No, Snickers the Monster was that first episode. That was back when you were first dabbling in YouTube
right.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, awfully.
I still
looked-
follow that channel.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
God damn, that was an awful channel. It was so bad.
That's the way it
Were
always
you a
is.
guest on my YouTube
No,
channel?
my wife was.
Weren't you? Oh, that's right, Lauren. Oh,
That was
God,
back.
I'm
That
so
was
sorry,
back
Lauren.
in the day when, because I saw that channel. I don't know. I was going through my YouTube channels that I was on and like cutting stuff out that I didn't watch anymore. And I saw that, and there was a bunch of episodes that were just called Response, because that was back when YouTube was all about like posting a response video. And so you would have videos that were just response videos to other videos, and it's like that is
Man, I'm so happy I got out of my like weird era of like I have to have an opinion about everything.
Yeah.
I'm so happy I got out of that era.
no. I mean, that's kind
Ah.
of how you are though when you're in like your early 20s.
Yeah, I kind of equate it to the idea that I had no idea who I was. So like the only way that I could portray to others who I was through my opinion.
Mm-hmm,
You know, because I was anything to deflect who I actually was.
Yeah.
If I had to think about myself for 5 seconds, that wasn't fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the episode of trivia that I had. I was looking up that, and I just remembered Snicker the Monster. Do you still have Snicker?
Yeah,
Somewhere?
Snickers is actually in the museum right
Oh.
over here.
That's cool.
Like in my little museum area, all my burlesque and my performance stuff, that's all in there. We're going to get glass cases for everything.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Snickers was a
I-
great podcast idea, though. When you and
Yeah.
Snickers had a podcast, it was just you talking to yourself.
On a podcast.
It was. Yeah, I'm not doing the voice because
Yeah,
the voice would
yeah.
wrecked my vocals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I used to do that fucking voice all the time. All
Yeah.
the time. Constantly.
For a whole, how long were these episodes of the podcast that we had?
Oh,
that
they were
pitched
like
a listener?
20. the 30 minutes. They were not really short.
It was really funny
And-
too because you talked to me and you were like, how often should you put out episodes? Because you were asking me because I had done the podcast for a while and I'm older than you, and so you were like looking up to like, oh, John's done podcasts. He knows how to do podcasts. And you're like, so should I do an episode every day? And I'm like, my God, you'll die! Like, holy cow! And I was like,
Remember
weekly.
that? Oh God, I was thinking every day. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate it.
It's just interesting because that was a long time ago. Because this podcast, episode 500, has been on since 2011, right? Right? 2011? Yeah.
20. No, I think
think
it was
12.
2010.
2010, 2011, 2012. One of those. I could look it up. It would take a while for me to do so, and it's always good on
Probably
podcasts
not
to
worth it.
spend a lot of time. On that episode 500.
Not
you
worth
know.
it for us or you.
Yeah, let me just Google this. Click. Is put in extra click noises and
Mhm.
ums just to really sell it that we're doing a good job looking it up.
Mhm. Well, I mean, I can look it up on the website, so it'll take me like.
Man, I hate going to the website and scrolling and seeing some of the awful, just cursed thumbnails that you've got for
March
these episodes.
5th, 2011, episode 0.
Wow.
So it's been
Zero's
12
so
years.
bad, though.
It'll be 13 years in March. So lucky number 13.
Wow, way to go, John.
And you
I'm
were
proud of
you were on for a good year at least, if not almost
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, I was on. I wasn't I kind of on and off for like a year and a half.
Yeah. So you were on for a
something.
while. It was so we started the podcast. It was me and Adam for a while.
Adam.
And then it was me, Adam, and Lance for a while. And then you, Mercury, started up your own podcast with Matt,
Running
Running
yeah,
with Scissors.
Running with Scissors.
Incredible
Yeah,
podcast. I hope that's archived somewhere. I feel like I have it on a hard drive somewhere.
I think it is, unless
So-
if something went wrong and I lost it.
I know we're talking about one thing, but just to like point something out that I think about every once in a while, and you have a unique position, John,
Mhm.
is that like that I do think was like the first time that I had an idea about the internet that actually kind of worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Running with Scissors wasn't a bad concept.
No.
Us just talking to artistic people that no one knew in our small community, and people listened.
It was.
a
It really
decent-
was.
Mhm.
And
It
you
was
see
a
it.
decent podcast.
Yeah, you see other podcasts like Mad Stage podcasts. I don't know if they're still around, but they were doing that kind of thing.
Well, that's what we started that podcast.
Yeah, on little podcasts.
Yeah, that was- That's what's so wild is that littlepodcast.com, which was a network we were kind of loosely all working under at one point.
Yeah.
Like we had some solid ideas. I mean, 10 minutes about your favorite movie.
Yeah.
Mm.
That was another solid
Yeah.
idea that we were producing on the podcast.
That was really like kind of the golden age back in like probably 2012-ish, 2013.
2012, 2013. Yeah.
Where we had a studio that we rented in that fucking shithole building
Oh,
next to the Arby's.
Interesting place.
Yeah.
yeah.
Could have just recorded in the Arby's.
Didn't have
They got the
internet.
meats.
They didn't have Wi-Fi in the rooms because it was
They
like-
had that was such a bad setup
Yeah.
for us.
but it
and
was a cool
also-
room.
It was $150 a month, right? And I still struggle to pay for it.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. I mean, I think I helped pay too, but I think I was only paying like 30 a month or something.
Yeah,
Since I
because
was-
you weren't using
No, because
Yeah, because
we
that was-
recorded Born in the 80s at my house.
Yeah.
In the
Well-
kitchen.
I remember it became more vital when I lived next to a highway.
Oh,
Yeah.
And that was one of the big deciding factors for me back then, because we had such poor audio conditioning by my like studio apartment.
hmm
I was living in the tiniest fucking like 500 square foot fucking closet, and we were right next to a highway. So when Matt would come over
Mm.
and he would set everything up, we would have no room.
Mm.
And I also was so embarrassed to have all these like guests and these notable
Mm.
people in Madison to like come to my studio apartment. So the studio was kind of like the first like, let's just fake it.
Yes. It lends
Let's-
a lot of legitimacy.
Yes,
yeah, let's
let's
just
try and
fake it.
legitimize this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a while. So then it was Lance and Adam and I and you recording for a while. Then there was a bit of a falling out between you and Lance. And then we started recording episodes separately, or it'd be like me and you. And then because Adam moved away, Adam moved to Illinois.
The betrayal.
The betrayal. Yes, Adam,
Yeah.
the great betrayal. There's an episode, I believe, where there's a bomb that goes off in the episode and Adam dies canonically, if I remember.
I actually remember that. I tuned in for that. I remember that. I want you to know I have rarely listened to this podcast.
Yeah.
I've never listened to it.
I mean, I listen to every episode because I edit them. So
That's why he's
Yeah.
like this.
yeah. And TJ listened to a lot of them too. But we had a lot of fun doing that. And then you kind of went off to become traveling with burlesque basically, and it was like we can't really record anymore because you were busy.
The one
Yeah.
last hurrah for me in podcasting before I kind of got so focused on burlesque was my another podcast called Shut Up, I'm Listening.
Oh
with
my
Mercury
God, I had
Stardust.
forgotten
It
about
was
that.
it was the very first time that anywhere on the internet my name was Mercury Stardust in a public way. And that was 2014. So like that was about to be a decade ago.
Oh wow.
When I
Damn.
first picked my name and I had started putting in the building blocks to build a community, because at some point I gave up being internet famous,
Mhm.
right? I gave up because I was approaching my 30s. I had literally no prospects. I didn't really have any sway whatsoever. I couldn't get any type of recognition for anything. So I just focused on building a local community. And I focused building shows and burlesque shows and festivals. And I became a notable person within the burlesque community. And I really do credit that to be where everything started, because I had people all across the country knew about 5-Star Tees, which was one of the
Mhm.
longest running weekly shows in the country at one point. So, yeah, we would bring some of the biggest names in burlesque right here in Madison, which is a wild idea. You
Yeah.
know, some of the largest names in the world would come here and perform because it was a good, fun place for queer and trans performers to come. So when I started that, I really do think that was what changed everything too. Man, what a while. This is weird because this is kind of where I started.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's really funny that there was actually, I always like to joke about it when I think about it back to myself of, Mercury, the handyman origins, because there was a couple episodes called Mercury, the handyman, as I've renamed them now. But where you
Oh.
talked about doing maintenance as a job.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
Uh-huh. So
God damn.
it's just kind of interesting, and it's kind of a thing that you think about. We're just all trying to figure ourselves out, and the 20s is kind of where that happens,
Yeah.
and now you're successful at what you do.
Yeah, for something that I literally you couldn't have
Spent
I
your
couldn't have
entire but you
predicted
kind
it
of
10 years
what I'm
ago.
saying is I feel like you spent your entire life building up to this moment, because it's taking a little bit of everything that you learned from podcasting, theater, all those things.
Even producing. Because
Mhm.
do you remember those live variety shows we put
Yes.
on? You, me, and Matt. So for those who don't know, and that's probably everybody, we would do these live events to try to raise money to be able to have a studio and do all this other stuff.
Okay.
And it was a way for us to stay connected to the people we were bringing on to Running with Scissors. So we would have all these comedians and jugglers and hula hoopers and, burlesque dancers and fucking, musicians of all kinds. And we were like, hey, we have all these connections now. We can put on shows. Oh my God, who isn't going to want to come to these shows? Man, we were lucky to get 4 fucking people to come out for any of those things.
Yeah.
And John, one night, I don't know if you remember this, But John said something to me that I think about still on a daily basis. John said, "Leave it to you to always figure out a way to do something."
Yeah.
And you I don't know if you knew how powerful that was, but you told me that like at the first one, you're like, "I don't know how you did this, but you did it."
Yeah.
And that was a tiny, tiny thing. That was, and also I did it poorly. So yeah.
No,
I think there's a lot of worth in like being able to get the poison out though. Like so many people will have an idea and just not put it out there because it's not ready. So
Mhm.
even if you take it as like oh, we got 4 people, like you did something, and a lot of people just struggle getting that far.
I think the thing that I always remembered about you, Mercury, was you were always really ambitious with a lot of projects, and there was probably too wide of a scope back then on what things you wanted to do. The stand up. If you remember doing stand up at the Madison Comedy Club with me, and we we went and saw Pete Holmes. That was like the stand up phase. Went to Appleton.
Oh, I did have a stand-up phase.
Yeah.
I really wanted to be Pete Holmes so
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, he's great. Well, you had a podcast, I think, that you were way into. That's great.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the name of it.
You made it weird.
You made it
Pete
weird, yeah.
Holmes. Yeah.
And so that was really cool. I just feel honored to have seen all of that become this that you are now. Like, and it's like, and that's the essence of you somehow get it done. Like you got it figured out. It took a while.
The origin of figuring out though
Yeah.
is I really do think you have to figure out yourself first.
Yeah.
And I know that's some like fucking like pseudoscience bullshittery.
Mhm.
Like I know that sounds like that so much, but I really do think it's true. Because what are you going to talk about if you haven't lived your life?
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? If you haven't done things that make you joyful or like fulfill you in some way, or is it important to the local community around you? What are we talking about?
Mhm.
Like there can only be so many Marvel podcasts.
And they're all good.
Yeah, they're all just amazing.
Not to knock on anything, because that's another thing that you've kind of learned when you get older, is that like just like ripping on shit for no reason is like bad.
You're
Yeah.
definitely the worst about doing that of us, though.
I know. I try. I can admit.
Just let me enjoy my Marvel and Star Wars stuff.
I can admit. Well, the thing is I'm not. I don't know. There's a way to be critical.
John and I are like
way.
the split response. Like if something has to do with a company or a capitalism thing, I just tear it apart. I'm like, you find joy in this, I'm gonna be a jerk about it. John is like the media person, like oh, you like this show? Let me tell you why it's bad compared to all the media I like.
Yeah,
I'm a snob. I'm an asshole snob. I know this, but
that hasn't changed in 14 years.
No. But I think part of what has changed is I've become more aware of that. And so you're able to be like, let me not say this, or let me say it in a better way, or let me apologize immediately.
If you can say it without yucking someone's yum,
Yes.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Also, that's a kink term, and I love when I hear it outside of kink contexts. Just to make
Well,
sure.
listen, I think the first time I used that term on the podcast was we were looking at that fucking teddy bear suit.
Oh, don't bring that up on episode 500.
No, sorry. All right, listeners.
Talking about, and I am terrified.
So I will just say that there was a product we found while searching a term that I had just discovered that day.
Yeah.
And I was trying to critique
it's ABDL. I
was trying.
That is what we talked about on that episode of the podcast, and we found
not to relitigate it, but my name is Spanky, and I've gone by that because I look like Spanky. Well, I used to when I was a kid, look like Spanky from Little Rascals, the movie. And
you gave away that information for free.
And I had someone follow me, and they were like ABDL. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And I guess what they had done, I looked at the recent follows and it was everyone had the word spank in their name. So they were just searching for a user's name that started with spank and following all of them.
Nice.
So I figured it out through that.
So you got put on a list.
Anyway. So the first time I used it was a kink thing.
Yeah.
Was in relation to a kink thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, way to bring this story full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we won't talk anymore.
This is the Avengers Endgame moment. Like the teddy bear is gonna pop out of a portal and be like on your left.
Yeah. So
I just rewatched Endgame like 2 nights ago.
Oh.
So that is crazy topical. And no one else.
But we had to make it a Marvel podcast.
But popping out of the portal next to the ABDL teddy bear gimp suit that we found on an episode is Quizbot. Do you remember Quizbot?
Quizbot's on our left.
So
I don't know if I remember.
So Quizbot was a thing we came up with for guests. You may remember probably our first brush with stardom, an episode where we recorded an episode of Born in the 80s with Keegan Michael Key. Did you record an episode of Running with Scissors with Keegan Michael Key as well?
Yeah, I thought it was split. Yeah. I thought there was one of each.
We recorded it as one thing, and then yours was like a section we cut out.
Got it. So there was like it was a part. And I remember being like, when we had Keegan on, and I was like, oh, I'll just throw it in the middle of a Born in the 80s episode or something, And then I was like, the shit that we talk about, like, I don't know if I would be comfortable having someone put like part of my interview in with the rest of this episode. So I made it a standalone short episode. It's like 30 minutes or something. But Quizbot was and Adam's not here to do the beep boops for Quizbot, but Quizbot was the robot that would have quiz questions that we wrote circa 2011, 2012 when we started having guests. So I perused through the list and came up with a couple of these that might be good for you. So let's start. Is it okay that you answer Quizbot's questions?
Yeah, this is gonna be good.
Okay, so this
from the past.
Keep in mind these were written in 2011. So
oh, okay. Well, that might
no. Don't
do this.
So Quizbot was actually. So I have this huge stack of index cards because we just spent a bunch of time bullshitting, coming up with dumb ideas for questions that we just ask randomly. But I have combed through a subset, so these are not the bad ones. There's a lot of bang, marry, kill in here, which I feel like now is yucky.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
I think they call it kiss, marry, kill now.
Kiss, marry, kill.
Yeah,
because I got like
the banging part that was the problem.
I don't think they do a kill anymore. I think it's disregard or something.
Anyway, that's like how different the discourse is now.
Yeah, it's so different now.
So I don't have any of those, but I do have the first one here. Okay, so now this is an fight. This is an imagined scenario when we have two things fighting each other. You have to tell me who's going to win this battle. On side A, Mike Tyson versus the birds from The Birds.
Oh
shit! Oh my god! I think the birds are kind of OP on this one, buddy.
I don't know. I feel like Mike Tyson could punch a bird.
I don't know. If there's a lot of
stuff anymore. He just grows weed.
Does he? Wait, that's what he does now?
Yeah.
Wow, what a good retirement plan.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say birds, dude.
That's a solid answer. I can't fault that one.
Yeah.
This is probably too stacked from the start. Number 2. Question number 2, Quizbot. Beep boop. Where
Beep, boop, boop.
in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Currently, does she have a TV show anymore?
So some of these questions were written to be nonsensical without a good answer.
I'm gonna say San Francisco because I was just there a couple of days ago.
Ooh,
it was San Francisco was amazing.
I can imagine.
54 cities in 63 days, John.
Okay, that is intense. So I have one that I specially picked for you. What is the best Muppet movie?
Oh, shoot. I will always have a soft place in my heart for Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We just watched that a couple days ago.
But if we're talking cinematically,
yeah,
I do think it's the one with Jason Segel
Oh, the new one.
And
I think it's just called
yeah,
The Muppets.
The
Muppets.
Muppets, I think. Yeah.
That's a good
I
one.
do think that there was an opportunity that was severely missed. And I really do think they could have had a great trilogy of films and they could have really rebirthed the the Muppets, like really rebirthed them. But they crap the bed so hard.
The new
That one
Disney Plus series is good though.
is
I've
it?
heard that.
Wait, do they have
There's
another
a
one?
Disney Plus
Yeah,
one.
it's about that band. The band
Oh
within the Muppets.
yeah,
Oh,
the
the
Dr.
Electric
Teeth
Mayhem.
band.
Yes.
The biggest was that they were a real band, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Electric Mayhem was a real band. Wild, the things you find out when you're
Okay.
when you're older.
All right, I got a couple food questions here. We'll start with chips, barbecue, or sour cream and onion.
sour cream and onion.
Oh, okay. See, these are questions, and if I remember correctly, now I'm like going back to my mind that Quizbot's questions were scientifically engineered for you to understand a person from the answers.
Oh,
Yep.
So,
Oh.
So you could have saved like a lot of time in your 20s.
yeah. If we just did this all the time.
sour cream and onion. Okay, it's
Very
I
good.
will
first
say
date, John.
the best thing about sour cream and onion chips is that you can eat them with a barbecue sandwich, and
That's
you get
true.
the barbecue. If you have barbecue chips,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're not gonna eat sour cream and an onion with your barbecue chips.
You know what it is too, though, is that barbecue chips are also really messy. Like with sour cream
That's
and
true.
onion chips, like you don't see it as much. You do it like it's salty, right? But
You're
it's
right.
not like barbecue. Like it's
Yeah,
you
that
look like you
powder's
killed
everywhere.
somebody.
It's dyed.
Yeah.
Okay. And then second one, runts or nerds?
I don't know what runts are, so we're gonna go with nerds.
Runts
Those are the little fruit-shaped candies.
with the banana one that tastes.
Oh shit! That got more interesting. Oh man, I
Ooh.
forgot what they are, so I'm gonna go with default. It has to be nerds. I love nerds so much. I would always pick it up every time that I was at the gas station as a kid.
Hmm.
Like I would like save my coins up, and I would get a candy cigarettes.
Oh my god, I used to get candy
Nerds.
cigarettes every time because they were cheap as fuck. It was like 15, 20
Yeah.
or 25 cents
Shut-
for a pack.
What were candy cigarettes? What were they?
Just sugar sticks.
Asbestos.
Is that what they were?
They were the microplastics that we all have now.
And like powdered sugar would come out like fake snow or fake smoke.
Whoa. That's smart.
Those are the real nice ones.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I always like to
man.
buy those. I'm trying to think of what my go-to childhood candy was. I always liked a
I
score
love
bar.
Runts.
The,
Score's good.
the like toffee bar that's not Heath. Like I think it's a different brand. but
Rolo.
Rolos, very good as well. What about you, TJ? What's your candy bar of choice when you were a child?
When I was a child, it's probably if you say candy bar.
Well, any candy, because we're talking runts
Okay.
and nerds and stuff
Yeah.
here too.
Yeah, well, either way,
Convenience
it's
store
still
candy.
between two. It's between Sweet Tarts and Caramello.
Mm.
Oh yeah,
But-
What-
Caramello, the original ones, like the ones
Yes.
from way back in the '90s and
Mhm.
2000s, were really good.
So
But
did
whenever
they?
we had
Did they?
birthday-
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
I have to,
whenever
I
we
have to
had
cut you
birthdays,
off
it's-
while you're talking. So that's
That's-
part of the
that's
episode.
part of the
About interrupting
podcast, yeah.
TJ.
But when people had birthdays and brought candy to school, I loved it when people brought the candy bracelets and candy necklaces. Oh, those
Mhm.
were so good. You still just get them at like a Dollar Tree or something.
I did kind of hate that you had slobbery candy stuck, like
Yeah.
it's really tightly stuck to you the whole time, though.
Did you ever get those giant jawbreakers?
No,
It was like the size of
Oh,
a baseball.
I know what you're talking about. I don't like
You
those.
would get through it like maybe a couple layers, and it would just be this gross mess, and then you would never touch it again.
yeah,
So one thing that I wanted to point out that actually now I'm thinking about was probably my favorite was Lifesavers. Because you got a lot of them, they lasted a while, and that. But then they changed the flavors of Lifesavers now,
Oh.
and it's terrible. Like the flavors you get
change?
now? They got rid of the pineapple Lifesaver.
Well,
I never
Uh,
liked it.
Well, I did. So
so fuck off, TJ.
yeah. No. So now the flavors are cherry, raspberry, watermelon, orange. Oh, and they still have pineapple. So they got rid of lime, which was my favorite. and they turned it
yeah.
into Apple, which is
And
the
they did that to
mistake.
Skittles too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
they
changed
did.
that back finally.
Oh no, they changed
Oh,
it.
wait,
Skittles
really?
was Apple. Lifesavers is watermelon. They made a watermelon lifesaver.
Oh.
Mm.
It's just
Apple's better than
and then a raspberry. I don't remember raspberry. So
Yeah, there was raspberry. Yeah.
okay. Anyway, lifesavers are always a good one. All right, let's move on. We talked enough about candy. All right. All right, this is a good one. Rock, paper, or scissors.
Rock.
Solid choice.
I was waiting for a dumb joke, John.
I thought of that. I thought of this one because of rock, paper, running with scissors. So I thought maybe you'd go scissors, but rock's a good choice.
Oh, that would have been good, but you said rock first.
Yeah. Rock beats scissors.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay. We've got would you rather. There's some would you rathers in here. So this is a good
shit.
one. Would you rather be stuck inside a porta potty for 48 hours
Ooh.
or have a 5-foot long mustache which is untrimmable?
Oh shit. Mustache.
I feel like this one is more difficult for you now.
Yeah, mustache
than it would have
though.
been. But
Would
yeah.
you rather do that than be in a porter?
Because you can make for 48 hours, I guess. You can make a mustache a really wicked hair, dude. Like you could do something really cool.
Mm.
Yeah, like
you could comb it over.
Yeah, I'll hit up a drag queen friend, and we'll have the coolest look, man.
There you go.
The porta potty thing though, I was just in my very first ever self-cleaning public toilet in San Francisco. Wicked. Have you ever seen what those look like when they actually clean them? Because they're self-cleaning, so you every 20 minutes they clean. And the toilet goes up, there's no seat, so you got to squat on it. And it goes up into its like little pocket, and then the floor just shoots power washer everywhere, and then there's power washer like from the ceiling, and it just shoots down. It is nuts that's a real thing that they do in San Francisco.
Do you have to pay for that toilet?
No, it's free.
Okay. Because I remember when I went to London, I say we, but that was a theater thing.
In college.
In college, yeah. But you didn't go.
I didn't go.
Matt went, but it wasn't the year I went. So
Right.
So it wasn't really
when my
weird.
mom was sick, so I stayed home that year.
Well, that's probably a better choice. But London, they had pay toilets there, which I always thought was an interesting thing. Is that there was like public pay toilets, and you'd pay like 50 pence or something to use the toilet.
Really?
Yeah, and they were automatic as well with like the cleaning. So
this is a complete side note.
Yeah.
But
side notes are allowed.
I would be reminiscent. I would feel sad not bringing this up, but like it was genuinely shocking to see the crisis in San Francisco. And it is heartbreaking to see that and knowing that there isn't really being much done. Just to throw it out there. It's impossible to ignore. It is. We were in the Trans District, which is also kind of where Tenderloin, if you know where that is a famous area, one of the many famous areas in San Francisco. And we were down there, and it was everywhere. Houseless people everywhere. Full communities of people just living on the street. And it's their solution is to come down every day with a power washer and clean one side of the street, and everyone goes in a
Well, so for those listening to the recorded version I have, they stopped being on the episode. The San Francisco power wash got to Mercury and Matt.
It was too much of a hot take, and Matt had to kill the feed.
Yeah. Matt is now AFK. Oh my god.
It's because he went AFK.
We've all been canceled.
Can I just drag him back in here? Would that work?
I think you can. Hey Matt. You went
You're,
AFK on Discord.
What does that mean?
It means it put you into
the AFK channel. So it cut off the middle of Mercury's sentence, and I don't see video or Mercury anymore. Oh, we can hear you
I
at
can
least.
hear Mercury.
That's the important part.
The San Francisco City Council
Sorry.
sabotage
So
feed.
let's go back to exactly what you were saying before you got cut off. You said people, they wash one side of the street and people move over to the other side, and then they come back and wash the other side on a different day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they very definitely over police too.
Yeah.
It's pretty heinous. And I've been everywhere,
Mhm.
as I mentioned earlier. I've been to 54 cities. I've seen houseless everywhere, right? It is particularly bad in San Francisco, and I do believe this is going to start happening at higher volumes across the country. It's already happening in Texas. It's really quite something in Texas. I saw it in Florida. It's kind of it's a little startling. And I think if you're traveling across the country, and especially if you're going into these independent bookstores, where a lot of these independent bookstores are
Oh my God.
that are in places where a lot of houseless people live.
Yeah.
So like it's very, you see it.
Mm.
It's impossible to ignore, and I think the situation across the country is getting worse, and hence why I focus all my energy on renters' rights,
Mm.
because it all comes right back to that. If we had a proper housing system in this country,
And that is probably one of the, not one of the, you do a lot of amazing stuff, but I absolutely love how much you talk about renters' rights and renters' abilities to live in their own home and feel safe and sound in their own home, and that we have in our Discord, we have a just landlord suck channel because I followed a landlord Facebook group I infiltrated, and I post dumb shit they post all the time that makes me want to kill myself. But yeah, so
I am blown away that I have never made it on landlord TikTok. I don't know how I haven't gotten yelled at by some landlord out of touch with reality. I I was on ABC last week, and I like Matt was there. I literally said landlords were terrible people in the nicest way.
Mhm.
And nothing. What do I have to do to get someone to stitch a video and make me the bad guy? I would love to have target practice.
Yeah,
and have my audience lose it.
Yeah, they just say, yeah, I'd follow that Facebook just literally to dunk on them, because it's funny to see the just absolute, I don't know, like how do you call it, their sense of entitlement and self-worth of just having been able to purchase a home. Yeah, I know. And it's like, you're not treating them like people. You're treating them like, money, which is what it is to them,
When I worked in property management, I worked with a third party, right? So the property management company would be taking care of these spaces on behalf of private people, right? And so there's like 7 landlords or something like that, 7 people, property owners. And the amount of times that I had to get on the phone and talk to them and explain to them why we needed a new furnace, or why if we prolong this one more year, this is going to get serious, or why we needed to fill holes in the basement or anything like that. The amount of times I had to just basic stuff that was maybe going to bring us over the budget that we allotted for them that year. Because that's another thing, is that they give us money, we use a part of that money to then take care of the place, but we want to make as much money as possible. So what we do is we take that money, there's some term for it, but we basically say 20% or 15%. And then if we want to fix more, we actually ask for more money because we have it in the contract that we don't have to take money from that pot. So we're just like constantly taking money from the landlord and then fixing the problem, and it doesn't make sense. The system is so absolutely broken, and the subsidies that go with apartments are also kind of, they're rigged for landlords comfort.
It's Yeah.
230 some federal representatives are landlords.
Yeah.
Our elected officials, senators and congressmen are landlords.
Yeah.
So like why would they make laws that would hurt their profitability?
Yeah. And it's kind of terrible because, you know, all capitalism is exploitation, and you know, a lot of it's either natural resources or or human resources, and that's what landlords are. Is they're getting the maximum value out of people, and not you know, like, you know, it's awful. I'm not saying every landlord's a nightmare, but like it's
I-
just a perfect spot for abuse to happen.
You know, and let's be honest, I have met some pretty amazing people
Yeah.
on the road who would come to me and be like, "Oh, you know, I bought this book for all my tenants."
Mm.
And I always think that's a little weird, but I also understand what they're saying, though. They're trying to empower their
Mhm.
tenants. They're trying to have active conversations, you know, with their tenants about stuff, and they want it to be a safe environment for their tenants. And there are a lot of people who do that. The terrible idea, though, the terrible reality is a lot of landlords call it passive income.
Mhm.
And when you are dealing with someone's active shelter and you call that passive income, you're fundamentally missing like someone's reality, built in and
Mhm.
lived in experience. You're not taking it seriously when it's to
Yeah.
you. Passive income means that you can just make money without actually being
Mhm.
involved with making a living arrangement.
Yeah, I
work.
mean, there's lots of things that could be done to fix that. I mean, like out of state landlords and all that shit that happens where you'll have people, you know, just doing passive income properties, and it's like you said, it's not passive shelter. You know, it's their active shelter. This is you got to meet me halfway here. So, like, some of the better landlords are stuff where you have someone who owns a duplex and rents out the other half, or, you know, things like that, where it's someone who's actively got skin in the game with the place that they're in, instead of just, I bought this property to make money off of it. You know?
I used to. I don't do this as much anymore, but like when I first started doing content, I would do like some type of like counseling or guidance conversations with landlords, and they would ask me how to be ethical as a landlord. And then I would always tell them there's no such thing as an ethical landlord, but there's more ethical landlords than that. And
That's
if you're
true.
going to own property, don't sell it to a property management company. Try to actively find someone to, like, you know, pay to own situation.
Mm, mm,
Or and also, by the way, there are a lot of bad things about that too.
mm.
So I think that that could be very unethical very quickly. Getting a proper contract is very important in that situation. We actually helped someone fix his roof last year. He raised $35,000 for this man down in Topeka, Kansas, to fix his roof because he had a pay to own situation for like 7-8 years, but he didn't have the deed to the home.
Mhm.
So even though the person gave him the house and told him to pay the mortgage and everything, he didn't have the deed for 6 months. It took us We had to get lawyers involved, and we had to get like the city council involved. It was such a mind-numbing experience to do it because of the legality of paid or rent to own, especially in a lot of southern states,
Mm,
are really, they're just not legally, they're not something I would advise. But anyways, there are ways to do it
mm.
that make it more ethical, and I think that as a landlord, that's what your target is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
This
nice
is
little
the
rant. I don't
no.
know.
It's nice that you have so much practice and are so much smarter than like me, because whenever I rant about landlords on the podcast, I just kind of yell. Because
Yeah, that's
I'm
so
just,
real though.
yeah, like I try to hold space in my heart for like, oh, some people had like probably inherited a house when a family member died or whatever, and like there's stuff like that. But all the landlords I see are the ones that are just like, yeah, they own So I live in Springfield, Missouri, and like basically every rental property here is owned by the people who own O'Reilly's, the auto parts store. Um, so like if an apartment complex gets built, it'll be from some company you may or may not have heard of them, probably a subsidiary of a subsidiary owned by O'Reilly's, and it's like I know they're just exploiting people. They don't care at all.
Yeah, that's wild. That is, everything about that sentence.
I actually dragged John and Lauren and TJ down to Springfield,
Yeah,
Missouri
we
this
visited
year.
this summer.
It's not good.
No,
It's not.
we saw the worst
Oh.
Applebee's in the world.
We ate at the worst Applebee's in the world.
Missouri's a really beautiful place, though.
Oh yeah,
Mhm. I'm from the Mark Twain National Forest originally, which is in the
really?
south east of Missouri. Beautiful. I would, if it weren't for the Missourians, I would be in love with this place.
Where is Springfield adjacent to St. Louis? Is it more
So
west?
it is, yeah, it's more west. It is it's on it's basically it's equidistant between St. Louis and Kansas City. So
yeah, okay, I know.
bad
Yeah.
as far as location goes.
but you read the
But it is on the
Ozarks.
west side. Yeah,
I
it's
will
in the
tell
Ozarks.
you this. I really liked St. Louis.
It's close to Branson.
I love St. Louis and I love Kansas City.
I do too.
I generally thought they were really wonderful places to be, and the queer communities there
Yes.
were outstanding. Like absolutely some of the best queer communities I was in. A shout out to Water Valley, Mississippi. Water Valley, Mississippi is one of the lowest populated states in the entire country. 2 million people total. Jackson, I think, is the largest city, and it's 150,000 people. So we were in a town called Water Valley, Mississippi, and it was just outside of where Ole Miss is, the college. And Water Valley, Mississippi has 3,000 people. And there was a bookstore that's ran by a college professor of gender studies, and specifically has a whole class about queer history. And she runs a store called Violet Valley. And it's all nonprofit, and it's the only queer owned independent bookstore in the entire state. And she does it by herself part-time, with like a few volunteers. And it's this like very small little shop. But my God, the queer community was absolutely outstanding in places you wouldn't think they would be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Beep poop. Quizbot's still here.
Oh, we're still doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get. I got
35 minutes ago. Holy shit!
That's how Quizbot works. Quizbot allows for lots of things. I have a fun one. Who is your childhood rival?
Whoa, rival?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Did you have a particular kid?
Tyler Schultz. I gotta tell you right now, I don't know where he is right now. We called him the Fro, but he was a white kid. So I'm just gonna throw that one out.
You
there.
were like a child.
Yeah. We the only thing that we had in common was back then. That was my name, Tyler. I don't say this very often, but it's just this podcast has history to it. My dead name was Tyler, so we were only friends because my name was Tyler Schott and his name was Tyler Schultz.
Wow.
So we were always next to each other and everything.
That's amazing.
And that meant that like we were always like next to each other for tests. Always next to each other for like, gym class all the time. And I was so fucking tired of teachers getting us confused. I hated it.
That is good. This turned out. I can't think of a childhood rival for myself that burns up, but you're totally. I like that your rival was out of the alphabetic system of the school system. Like nothing else.
Relate to that.
It's just like you just had to be next to this kid. So.
And I had to reveal the name because it is kind of perfect.
Yeah, it's really close.
One of the things I miss the most about having my name as Schott is I used to, this is so fucking cheesy. As a joke, I used to walk up to people with a sweatshirt. I had a whole bunch of football and basketball sweatshirts that had my name on it. And my name was spelled Schott. So I would walk up to people and cover the SC up and be like, "What does my name spell? Hot with 2 T's." I used to do that all the time.
Sounds-
I swear to God, I was trying so hard to let everyone know I was not trans. I was like, I tried so hard.
So if we want to talk about some fun stuff in the podcast history, do you remember when you sold your vehicle
Yes.
to I
was
forget the
gonna
name
ask
of the
you-
episode. Damn it. I was going through old
This
episodes.
was epic.
So we did an episode where you sold your car to some shady people that you thought.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was like a bare house that they were in with like a bunch of other people hanging out, like that were not related to this transaction, that were
Yeah,
obviously
in
not
party-
related.
Partyville, Wisconsin.
Yeah. And you were like, it was the middle. This was actually a great podcast bonding moment back in the day, because we were in the middle of the episode talking about this, and we were like, you should just get your license plate back, because you had given them the license plate.
Yeah,
Because they
I
said,
didn't
"Oh,
think
I'll change it." Well, because you can't drive without plates, and it's weird to do it the what is it, purchase title change in person, because you got to print out the like form and everything, and it's something that you're just not prepared to do when you're in your early 20s. And you just needed to sell your car because you had, I think, 2, right? You had one that
Yeah.
didn't work very well, and go
This
ahead.
was 1 week, by the way.
Yeah,
I want to make this very clear. I had sold my car on a Tuesday or something.
yeah.
And we had 1 entire week. So it was like 10 days later. We're at your apartment at the time. and
Recording
we're
the podcast.
talking about it. Yeah. And I had just casually said, I basically sold my car for like $1,400 and,
Yeah.
you know, blah, blah, blah. And then I just said that, oh, yeah, no, I left them to have the license plate on it because they'll take care of it. And I don't want to have to worry about it. And then you or John or Lance, I don't
Yeah,
know,
I
one of you
remember.
said there is no way they got that car registered.
Yeah.
And it's still under your name.
Because you were saying that you thought that they were going to be like doing some not nefarious, I think it was
Yeah.
like intimating that they were running drugs basically, and they were going to use that
it
vehicle
was
as a mule.
definitely
Because they
something
had
that
like
was-
stacks of cash and stuff that you were saying, and it was just
it
kind of like,
was- I'm older now,
Yeah.
and I think I have seen enough. I've seen enough trap houses now in my life to know that that's what I saw.
yeah,
And I don't think I had the vocabulary or the understanding
Yeah.
of that's what I was seeing. But 100% that's what the situation. These were
Mhm.
people who were definitely going through stuff and not always aware of things is what I think was happening. So I tell this story, and was it me or you who said we should just go do it right now?
I don't remember who it was, but yeah, it was literally just like, you know the address, right? Like, let's drive there, because it wasn't that far. It was like maybe 45 minutes. You're not
We all-
even.
We all got in your car or my
It was
car?
your car, because I remember being terrified.
It was. We got in my Intrigue.
Yeah.
You know how small my Intrigue was?
Yeah, it was. I think I was sitting shotgun, and Lance was in the back with like the probably like 5 things of
was a
theater lights
2-door.
and things that you had. Yeah.
I think that was a 2-door
Yeah.
car, and we got 4 motherfuckers in that. Oh my God. Oldsmobile Intrigues were the tiniest little sports car.
Yeah. And I remember being
I-
terrified because I don't know, your driving style has always been
Little-
suspect to me.
Yeah.
You're a very good host in the car. And sometimes when you are in a car, you want the person to be driving and not being good at talking to you.
Yeah. We were acting like we were on the podcast. still.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were going all the way to Partyville,
Yeah.
Wisconsin, which was 45 minutes and an
Yeah.
hour or so.
Yeah, yeah.
So we drove all the way there. And then I believe, John, correct me if I'm wrong. We went there and
Your car was
kinda like-
in the driveway
Yeah, it
with
was
the
right in
plates
the
on.
driveway. And we pulled over and we looked, and sure enough, my license plates were still on
Uh-huh.
the back and the front.
Yeah.
And then I think we like quickly went to my glove box, grabbed a screwdriver, and then I just like ran over there in the dark,
Uh-huh.
took the license plates off of
Uh-huh.
the car, and ran back and acted like what I just did was like some 007 kind of bullshit.
Well, I think we're worried like that they're going to do something, but like looking
Yeah.
back, there was not a soul in that house. I mean, it was dark. There was no lights. I don't think there was anyone in the entire neighborhood because it was kind of like a suburby
It was a
woods
subdivision of some
neighborhood
kind.
where there was not
Yeah.
a lot going on. But yeah, I just remember that. It's one of my favorite podcast memories.
It's
And then
funny
do-
how many podcast bonding moments are about cars.
Oh yeah, and Buicks specifically.
Felix. Yep.
That's one.
I-
That's one
did,
for the.
Did we finish the episode that night?
I'm purposely talking to you while we're scrolling through.
It might be episode
episodes.
81.
Wow.
Amber
That's-
Show.
It
Yes,
talks about-
Amber Show.
Yeah.
The Amber Show.
Not to like keep bringing it up,
Uh-huh.
but like I really do think that there were some like pivotal moments that taught me a lot as a content creator, and I
What not to do
do-
on this
no,
show.
actually, I think that it's about telling a story. And I learned a lot about what was having a purpose to do something. Like, you know how I do the $4 million fundraiser now, where I'm on live stream for like 30 hours and I raise $4 million for, Point of Pride, gender affirming care. We do that every year now. The reason why I do it the way I do is because I'm trying to bring the audience in through a story. If I do it for 30 hours straight, you get to see me in real time become exhausted, worn out, beat up, and then I become a physical manifestation of what it is to be a trans person right in front of you. Worn out, beat up, really tired, you don't have any energy left, you're desperate. And the audience gets to see that desperation. And I think stupid moments like that, John, where it's like the most captivating episode was us doing something absolutely wild, almost Mr. Beast-esque in a tiny, tiny way, And I think those are first moments of where I started realizing how to do it all. And having fun in the process. If I wasn't enjoying myself, there was absolutely no point to do any of it.
Speaking of fun times and guests, do you remember the episode 84, Field of Dreams of Strippers? Where you brought a female friend of yours who was the house mom at a strip club in town.
She's told the most wild stories.
The funny part about that episode is that you had a trans woman, a gay man, and me in there. And I just thought it was hilarious that it's like, it's so like I think you said this before, you were trying to prove how straight you were, like you're like, let me bring this stripper like person on, like, oh man.
I really was going, especially those early episodes with you, John. I was really going through this period of time where my whole mentality was to be the loudest man in the room. And you and I would compete for that title.
And
all
Lance.
the time. Oh yeah. Oh my God. This is very much one of the reasons why me and Lance got down each other's throats. Because like I was struggling because Lance wasn't out, right?
No.
Yeah.
He came out on a Saturday Night Bite episode.
So Lance was a closeted gay man at that time, and I was a closeted trans woman at that time. And boy, were those conversations.
Oh, don't forget Adam, who is also a closeted.
Oh shit!
Adam was closeted when the podcast started.
Oh yeah.
I guess I'm the only person who started already out.
Yeah. So
I
get a win.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
man, John.
I think Adam's bi. I think.
Yeah.
He's currently in a relationship with a man, but I think
I saw Adam down when I was in Illinois.
Oh, good. I was really
Adam
hoping
came out to my book signing.
That's
and
awesome.
I gave him the biggest hug.
I'm so glad.
But John, I think now that I'm hearing you talk about this, I think that you're the gay agenda. I think that you turned
I've done it.
Yeah, I think.
Do you know my birthday is National Coming Out Day? So just saying.
Oh shit! John,
we're in the simulation, people.
Fuck, John, we've figured it out. You're the reason we're all gay. I love it.
I know,
That's
and that
so
really,
funny.
I'm not. I wish I could be.
Yeah, John's a good example of like
I just
being around all these queer people and like being the objective proof that
I'm
it's
just
not
not
a social
cool.
contagion because he's the straightest dude.
I'm just
He's
not.
like the most boringly straight man I've ever met
I
in
just
my
wish I
life.
was cool.
And
I
it's
like,
like he's had a podcast with queer people for over a decade at this point. He's still upsettingly straight, and we love him for it.
I'm sorry.
I'm settling straight.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Title of this podcast.
Upsettingly straight.
Born in the 80s, episode 500. I'm suddenly straight.
John's
Ready?
writing that down.
I am writing it down because I
And if
always
it
struggle
isn't-
to come up with an episode title.
Isn't a thumbnail of me like just doing a thumbs up? Sandy man.
It is really funny to think about because like you just think about back then, like when you were like, even I, the upsettingly straight man back in the day, I always thought, am I gay? Because I'm into all of these theater things and I like to perform, and it's just like such an expectation, and then but I'm not, you know what I mean? And it's like the thing that somehow people think you just turn, you know, and it's like, no, it's who you are, you know, and you can be around all of that stuff and just, I don't know. It's just, anyway, I'm glad our generation, at least for the most part, gets it. And especially the younger generation really gets it.
And all of us, who's the youngest here? Now that I don't.
Spanky.
Okay.
I wasn't actually born in the 80s.
I know.
Oh, okay.
93.
93. Okay.
Close.
Duly noted.
Still a millennial.
But we're still all in that age group, I
Yeah.
think. I maybe a little
30s.
less so for you, Spanky, but like
We're all in our
pretty
30s,
close.
except for teachers.
To
Wait,
I'm still in my 30s.
1 year. You got 1 year left. Okay.
Less than a year.
I'll be right back because I got to do the almost 40 thing. So
Okay.
Yeah, he turns 40 this May.
I assume that's passing another kidney stone.
That is so funny on multiple levels, Matt.
Every time we record one of these, he just got to leave halfway through to pass a kidney stone.
Is that what you say?
But-
We call it when he picks his kids up? Passing a kidney stone?
But what I was trying to say,
Yeah.
Yes.
is that we remember a time actively
Mhm.
where even mentioning that you were queer or gay, or
Mhm.
especially trans, was like absolutely. I would say queer was more accepted to some extent. Like being gay or a lesbian was much more accepted than transness. And transness was so far removed from the cultural zeitgeist that like it became a punchline into a point where how could you be making fun of somebody because trans people don't really exist?
They were
Do you know what I
they
mean?
were
Like,
a South
yeah.
Park joke. They were Mrs. Garrison on South Park.
Yeah, they
That's all
weren't
it
they weren't a
was
real thing.
in the culture.
That's
They're-
just a confused straight or queer person, you know.
Yes, and that's what I thought for the longest time.
Yeah.
I didn't know that trans women could date women. I didn't know that trans women could be gay. Is what I'm trying.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
I didn't understand this, and I think for me, I knew I wasn't like other people. I knew it. And when I was in high school, I came up that I was gay, but I wasn't gay. And I think that's the part that really fucked me up is that I didn't have language for what was going on, but I knew I wasn't like everybody. So I must come out as something. So, hey, everybody, I'm gay, but I don't like dick. You know, you know what I mean? Like, I
I feel
so
like
confused.
I feel like I want Spanky to chime in here because Spanky's kind of told
This
a
is
similar
like
story.
so I'm asexual, and this is kind of the exact mirror of what I went through when it comes to like basically I came out as gay, but I don't like dick. Get that? I don't even. I'm a romantic too. I don't even like to go on dates with anybody. But because I grew up in the South, the only time I ever heard the word asexual was on an episode of House, which is infamous in the asexual community.
Really?
For basically House cures asexuality and proves it's fake
Oh,
episode.
really?
It's terrible.
No,
I
It is
didn't know that.
basically- It's basically the equivalent of the Futurama episode where Bender proves transgenderism is a fake thing
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Olympics or
I
whatever.
remember that.
Yeah, the worst episode of Futurama by far. And then like, but that was the thing for Aces. It was the house episode where he cures it, and so here I am. That this comes out when I'm like 14 or 15, and it's already in the like, I know I'm not straight, but I have no language for what I am, and I guess I tried to like go through like a corrective. Well, I'll try dating a girl until it works. I'll try dating a boy until, well, I didn't do that until college, but like it never worked. And then like when in my mid 20s, I started to like think about like someone else has got to have the same thing that I've got going on. And eventually I figured out that like asexuality is real and it's always been real. And there have been ace people writing about it long before I was born, but no one ever talked about it. So I had
Yeah.
to like be a fully like grown ass adult before I could figure out any of the language for myself.
It was for me, it was seeing a successful trans woman who was performing in a burlesque show with me. Like, I met her, I saw how amazing she was, I got to be in close proximity with her, and then I was like, "Oh, shit! I have way too much in common with her." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it's wild how just creating a community or developing some language to it, like, not even to have language to it, it's like,
Yeah.
"What is this
Yeah.
thing that's
Yeah.
going on in here?" You know?
It,
It feels so isolating.
It's funny too because like as much as it's definitely not a social contagion, I feel like queer people once they learn like the language of other types of queerness, like I'll learn language for like the trans community, which it doesn't apply to me, but I had a friend during the pandemic, and she had said something like we were having beers down at the brewery and she had said something like, women something 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 like, if I could just be a woman, I would just do it. I'm like, I think I've heard this story before.
That's trans thought.
I'm like and so she's been on HRT for like 3 years now, and she's like come out, and luckily her wife was bisexual and who was extremely excited to be in a lesbian relationship again. So like all worked out great for them. But yeah, it was like once you start hearing that stuff, you're like, wait a minute, I've heard this story before. What you're saying is a thing that a woman says.
You know what it is? And I think this is a kind of funny because it's gonna bring it back to media, and I think John's gonna love it. Uh, is it's kind of like taking the red pill, blue pill, right? And the reason why that's so fucking topical is because they're trans girls. Like
Uh-huh.
the writers
Yeah.
are writers of that specific work of art.
Yeah.
Matrix. What was
And
it?
it's specifically a trans allegory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a trans
yes.
allegory. It really is like that because in my friend group, all the burlesque dancers in town, right? My spouse, my best friend, a whole bunch of us, like let's say 7 people, conservatively 7 people. I was the first one to come out. In a matter of about 6 months, multiple people were either coming out as non-binary, trans mask, trans feminine, or trans women. And it was
Mhm.
like the whole friend group. And and I think from the outside perspective, it's very easy to be like, oh, it's a trend.
Uh-huh.
But
Mhm.
what people don't understand is that for us, we went 30 years of our life not even knowing what these feelings in our bodies were. And I was a performer that would get, mostly naked for people, right?
I've seen.
But all of my all of my numbers at that time were like a punch at my own body. Like they were me screwing a light bulb into my crotch, right? Or was me like, something, I would like tie a zip tie around my junk or, it was just wild stuff that I was doing on stage. I hated my body. And
Mhm.
I thought this was normal. I thought it was normal for men to hate their bodies in a way that I did. Because
Yeah,
for
I hate
me,
my body
like,
for a lot of other reasons.
and that was the thing. The more when I was like trying to take care of my body,
Yeah.
I hated myself more.
Mm.
The more it was like the more masculine I was perceived by people, the more I hated my body.
Mm.
And I knew something was so up at that point. I mean, I just think about it now. I went so long being trapped in this cycle, John.
Mm-hmm.
Like of like people shaming me because I was eating too much,
Mhm.
because I was in Shave or Shave, the erotic dance comedy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I needed to maintain 162 pounds. And just for reference, I'm 240 right now, and I'm a healthy weight. I like this weight a lot. My tits are great. Oh,
Mine are too
uh,
good. I could lose a bit.
but that was like it was 80 pounds ago,
Yeah.
right? But was told if I wouldn't get paid if I didn't,
Mm,
stay at that weight. So they would take away food from me and stuff
mm.
when we were at the dinner table on the road. So like when that stuff is happening in your brain and you're just getting punched in the face with trauma over and over again, how can you really come to terms with who you are? There's no way to do that if you don't have actual good supportive community.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that always bothers me, when you hear people talk about that, from the conservative angle of just, it's a trend because it's happening more than it did. It's happening more because people are accepting. They're allowed to exist now. Whether or not it's good and safe yet, but there's at least the ability to start doing that in a lot of places, and there's more support.
There's a great podcast that Embedded did about like 3 or 4 weeks ago. They did a 3-part series of a mini show. The wonderful show Embedded. I don't know how many
I've heard
you
of
know
it.
what
Yep.
it is. But they did it about the 100-year history of trans people. And this is documented from psychologists and professionals and people who were doing gender affirming care in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and
Yeah.
50s. And
Mhm.
yes, the terminology is different. Yes, the way that they presented themselves were different, but that was also a dramatically different time. It was 110% trans people.
Yeah.
And the way that we treated black trans people was dramatically different than the way that we treated white trans people. And the reason why that's so fucking important is because we, as white trans people, had history. There's almost no history that's recorded for black trans people because doctors refused to see them.
Yep.
They were more likely to think they were mentally ill and be on help.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, for all the racist ideas we could think of, they really didn't get the help. So that's an amazing podcast
Yeah.
that I think does a really good job to shed light on how trans people have always been here.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to have just, I don't know. I maybe it's because I'm not a trans person, but I feel like the world is a better place for trans people than it was. And not saying it's where it needs to be, but like the fact that there's someone like Mercury Stardust Trans Handyman, legitimately popular on TikTok, like huge personality that people who are young can see as this is something that, like, it sounds like you didn't have that as a kid,
No.
No.
I mean, the only people I remember, here's the 3 names that popped in my brain: Buffalo Bill, Ace Ventura and Pet Detective, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Those are not good examples.
Because those are the only, though that's what I thought,
Yeah.
right? Now, now the whole Buffalo Bill, is he trans? Is he not trans? I don't know if you guys have
Ace
ever seen that
Ventura
shit.
is just the joke.
Yeah.
The whole point of the whole movie is, man, aren't trans women disgusting?
Yeah, if you want to just throw out Buffalo Bill and throw out Mrs. Doubtfire, fine. Let's focus on Ace Ventura, because the entire third act of that movie is Ace Ventura finding out that Ron turned into a woman and then throwing up in the shower and cleaning. There's a 3-minute bit of him vomiting over and over again because he kissed a man.
I mean,
They brought Dan Marino in, the manliest man at the time, just to go, that's gross.
It's even more than just that he was a man, in this. It was that it's something you see with like trans, like I don't know, people that are against trans people, is that they're tricking you,
trans panic.
That it's like, oh, he was, this person was tricking Ace Ventura into thinking, this.
Tootsie, Buffalo Bill, we can go back to that,
Tootsie.
and also Miss Doubtfire, and again Ace. All of them were people who were tricking people in order to get what they wanted. And there is such a diabolical thing about that, it's rough sauce, my gosh, But again, if you never have it, it's really difficult.
Mm.
And I think now, even now, like I am successful, and I will admit to that. But there is a glass ceiling for me that has been really difficult for us to crack through. You know, we've sold 80,000 books this year, which is one of the most sold books out of a new release in the last 3 months, the last quarter, in the last like 10, 15 years. This is a huge success of a book. We're projected to hit 150,000 by by August next year, which would be one full year of the book being out. This is a huge deal, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We've gone to the largest book tour in the country, 54 cities in 63 days. We also we're a number one New York Times best-selling book, and we sold the most books in a single week of the entire country, right? I've gotten only one national news coverage anywhere, and I've gotten very little press, and I get very little sponsorship offers.
Mm.
And I think, like, I'm not saying I'm bitter about it, right? But it is a little peculiar,
Yeah.
right?
So it's hard not to notice that.
Yes, it is a little hard not to notice.
When you see like even centrist news sources will cover some book or some podcast by some transphobe who I've never even fucking heard of. You go and look up their book and it's not even selling. Like I know that there are people who will buy the book just to support a transphobe, but like the book is just about being transphobic, whereas like your
Yeah.
book is about something. It's about
Yeah.
like
It-
renters' rights and helping them and stuff.
Only 3 trans people have ever been number 1 New York Times bestsellers, and I'm number 3. Number
it-
2, what it was Elliot Page earlier this year.
Wow.
So like, and the other one was another memoir. So there's a total of 2 or 3. They were memoirs. And mine's the only book out of the trans community that was about a subject matter written by a trans person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was not a memoir to hit number 1. And I think that is also kind of a threatening notion to a
Yeah.
lot of people in the general public, is that like, so I see it in my comment sections, right? Especially on YouTube, where
I
get,
can't-
like,
I don't. I just want to say, when I see that, I always worry about your mental health.
Yeah.
I hope
yeah.
you're okay, because that stuff. You don't read the comments. That's always been my thought. But
It is so difficult though, John, because a part of, so for me, having a good, I used to not read them at all, but then you kind of get farther away from your audience. You don't know what your audience is thinking.
I guess
how
that's
your
true.
audience makeup is. A part of our life shows as content creators is to have a pulse on what our audience is feeling and seeing and how they're reacting to us. I need to know what I can wear, how I can appear in a video to make them more comfortable, to make them feel like they're more receptive to learning about drywall, but also how they view me as a trans person. So when I
Mhm.
educate them about trans topics, I know where they're coming from. So I think it's hard to do my job effectively in the way that I do it without being somewhat engaged. Now, can I pump the throttle a little bit sometimes?
Oh, the maggot.
Yeah, I can, but it can be difficult because a YouTube
Yeah.
audience is so different than the Instagram audience
Mm.
and the Twitter audience. I'm sorry, X, and then the and then the audience on TikTok. They're all so different. The ones on YouTube are very conservative. They'll say things to me like, "You're one of the good ones," or like, "I don't like trans people, but," you know what I mean? Or
Why
the
are you
reason why I
saying this?
like you, I like you, but like I don't know why you gotta bring up the trans thing. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Instagram is the middle-aged moms who are raising trans kids. And they are very much like these parents who would do anything for their children. And you can feel in the comment section, they're so protective of me. If there's one comment that's mean, 20, 30 moms from Virginia will be like, "We're gonna find you."
That's awesome.
And then TikTok is radical as fuck. TikTok is like all the trans and non-binary people. I feel like that's my bread and butter and will
Mhm.
always be my bread and butter. It's where people grow up with me.
Hmm.
You know, it's where
Yeah.
I have met people now that I've been on there for 3 years. I met someone who said they came out 3 years ago when I posted my coming out video and why I was coming out and who I was and all that. They were so inspired by that. They took HRT like literally 2 weeks later.
Wow.
And I met them and I was like, shit, man, that's fucking wild. This is the things that's so wild about all of it is that like being in this position, I get to see that. But it's also at the same time I can't see it because I'm doing it in my own comfort of my own home in a fucking camera. So meeting 15,000 people for the book tour was huge. I think it really changed how I approach my content.
Well, that's a really good answer because, like, I always thought about like not listening to the comments, but you're right. That is like such a key thing to do to be good at what you do. So,
There is
Yeah.
other ways around it though, because I think that even for me, John, you know what does really good job is live streams.
Mm.
Live streams were not something that we did 10,
No.
15 years ago.
oh no,
So they're still relatively new in the culture zeitgeist,
sure.
but they are a great way to get the pulse of your audience without having to read every fucking comment
Mm.
in a comment section. And a lot of live streams can be isolated to some extent. They can be very niche. You know, you get
Yeah.
200 people, 300 people, 500 people, opposed to your 2.8 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
and shit.
That's cool. Well, that was awesome. Damn. Part of the reason I wanted to do Quizbot Beep Boop was that I know a lot of times when someone is like, you know, Mercury Stardust, the trans handyman, that all anyone ever wants to talk about with you is trans stuff. And there's more to you than that. You like barks. But the question is, I think the problem is that the audio listeners won't get this, but this question's been answered, I think, by what you're wearing. Pinstripe, plaid, or polka dot? Plaid.
Man.
I knew it.
I wear
Dang.
plaid. I was wearing plaid yesterday. I was wearing plaid the day before that, and I was wearing plaid the day before that. So, yeah, I have.
That's
so
a
many
good
plaid
vibe.
shirts. I'm also an overall gal, and one of the reasons why I'm overalls and flannel is because it's easy. It's easy peasy cover girl, and it's also very like. I don't know. I think it's a cool queer look. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. I look kind of like my grandpa, but if he, you know, was cool with the trans shit.
I do really love just like queer aesthetic that's not about like hypersexualizing,
Mhm.
where it's obviously queer. It's obviously like
Hardcore.
one of my favorite is like sword lesbian, like or combat
Oh,
lesbian.
Yeah.
It's just
that's
like, oh,
good.
this person looks like they're going to fuck me up, but it's just a queer aesthetic.
So we would have a game. I feel almost bad telling you guys this, but I you know what? Well, I'm in a good place. I think this is going to be well received. We had a game when we were doing the book tour because we did so many of these in order to keep me engaged and to keep my team engaged. Basil and Danny, who traveled everywhere with me. Danny was my security guard, would explain to everybody before they got to me, don't touch her, you know, do this. This is how it's gonna go. And then Basil would take their phone and then take a picture for us and help us along. Right. And then I would sign the book, give them the book, and they would go. Okay. So we had a game. And the game was seeing who we believed eggs were cracking. And I don't know. I don't know if you guys know the term. It sounds like
Yes.
you mostly do. But like sometimes people like especially overly enthusiastic boyfriends who would bring their partners through the line and they would just be like, oh, I love you. And they would walk away. And then I would look at Basil and be like, that egg is cracking. I give it 3 weeks, guys. 3 weeks.
There are definitely, I mean, you know, there's the still cis though meme, but also like once you've seen enough eggs crack, like my best friend Ewan is trans, and I watched her come out. and like my coworker Chloe, and just like, it's weird that, like, and I said this the other day to someone, but like, if it was a social contagion, I would be trans already. But the problem is, I still think truck commercial music is good. Like, I am so just fucking a cis guy.
You watch football, you know.
Yeah, even I mean, it just, there's something about truck commercial music that just lets me know I am just a guy, and
Just guys being dudes.
yeah, like, I'm ready for someone to tell me about how Ford is built tough, and I'm just like it speaks to me. I'm confident in my gender, but even after all this, even after, like, I obviously know I'm comfortable in my assigned gender and everything. I've seen enough people come out that, like, I start to be like, ooh, that's a little crack in the egg, isn't it? Like, the cisgender urge to do that, huh?
There was also, when people came through, we were trying to predict before they got to me if they were going to be cool or not. And something that always gave it away is if they wore a jean jacket that had patches on it that were safety pins.
Oh yeah.
Because they were always trans and they were always punks.
Yes.
And
Yes.
trans punks are the coolest motherfuckers on this earth. I
Yes.
will die with that belief in my body.
Yes.
Because I would give everyone about 20, 30 seconds with me, right? We had 280 people come through in 2 hours. We had to do that, right? But when I would see trans punks come through, 4 minutes would go by.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be talking about, oh yeah, how's your mom? You know what
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it was like we were old friends all the
Yeah.
time.
Nice.
No, I follow someone, her name's Vanta Black, and she's got a really interesting story. But like, she has like a black denim trench coat, like dental floss tied or patches that say like gender terrorist and stuff like this. Like, that kind of vibe is just like immediately, I don't know, like, that's a cool person. You can just trust.
It's this radical anti-government, anti-capitalism, why, if we're breaking down one structure of gender, why can't we just break the whole structure?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of an autistic point of view.
Yeah.
That's why there's a comorbidity of like trans people and
Yeah.
also autism, right?
Yeah.
Because your autistic people will tend to look at a structure, some type of like, like gender as a structure and a concept, and go, well, this makes no sense. Why
Yeah.
is this a
Yeah.
binary situation, right? And then if they do that with that, then they're more likely to do that with other binary ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating as someone who's married to someone who's trans and also autistic, who's seeing someone else who's trans and autistic, whose
Uh-huh.
best friends are trans and autistic.
Yeah.
As an allistic person who is trans, I feel left out.
Well, I mean, you're allistic and trans. I'm autistic and cisgender. So between the two of us, we can like Voltron together and form a perfect one.
I think it's funny, they talk about vaccines cause autism. They don't, but the answer would be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the
What's wrong with that?
As someone who like only later in life figured out my bullshit, like, what I've noticed is that like right wingers, dipshits, whatever, they'll be like, oh well, first of all, it's infantilizing to say, oh well, they're only, how can they know what their gender is? They're autistic. It's like that's just a different mind. It's a neurodivergence. It's a neurotype. It's not like they're broken people. But they'll say like, oh, why? How come it's only happened to these autistic people? And I'm like, because autistic people are already shunned they're already excluded from society and already have trouble integrating into society. And if they're already having that trouble, they're not going to put up with gender bullshit too. Like, they're already failing to be accepted. So like, fuck it, live their truths.
If society's structures are collapsing around you, why go along with the charade?
Exactly.
And I really, this is why there is a high percentage of people who are trans and also houseless. Because like, again, like, when structures in our society don't help us and don't actually give us the emotional and physical needs, then it's like none of this is real. It's all made up.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
made up. And if that's all made up, what else is made up? And
Yeah.
I think it does bring you down the road of like, oh yeah, well, gender is just a construct.
So
And I think that's tough for some people to understand.
beep boop. What is your favorite swear word?
Shit fucker.
Ooh.
Shit
That's a
tits
good
is-
one.
I say shit tits a lot now too.
I'm trying to, I always exclaim fuck my ass.
You
Oh,
do.
that's a good one.
I don't know
Dude.
why that came in, but that's one. I also say my hole all the time.
My hole is a Johnism for sure.
Yeah.
my hole. It's probably the
I've always been-
hemorrhoids, to be honest. That
I've
is where
always
that
been
comes from.
fond of son of a dick fuck, but
Son of a,
Oh,
I do like son of a dick.
that's good.
son of a dick. Okay.
Okay, we like that. Oh, these are all good. Great.
All right. Here's another one. This may
Beep
come
boop.
back to the rival, but have you ever been in a fight? Physical fight?
Yes.
Okay. Are you okay?
Is the answer yes for both?
Are you okay detailing this,
Uh,
or do you not want to?
I don't know. We'll pass.
Okay. One physical altercation we can talk about in the podcast is the epic battle of arm wrestling between Mercury and Lance. Do you remember this? Oh boy. The YouTube
believe we have a
evidence
video of it
exists.
somewhere.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. But it was during an episode we recorded, and we took a break in the middle. And this, I believe, was really the beginning of the end of the three of us, Lance, you, and me, being on the podcast. You and Lance got into an argument and decided to settle over who could win in arm wrestling.
Man, we were so closeted.
Uh-huh.
We were so closeted.
I know.
It hurts.
The cisgender urge to prove myself with an arm wrestling
Oh,
contest.
man.
Which is funny because Lance was always that way. There was a point once when we were drinking, and he's a big guy like me, and we were like, he was like, I could take you out in a 3-point stance. If we were like linemen, I could run you. I'm not going to do this, Lance. You're way drunker than I am, so I probably would win. But like, also, I'm not going to go out into the yard and run into you. Like, what is this? But it's just this like urge that I just thought it was funny that I remember that. But physical fights, I was in one altercation physically, and it was in the Boy Scouts, and it was another Boy Scout who is also I feel like we were kind of the same, as that we were both kind
It was
of
for the Fight Club merit badge.
yes, the Fight Club merit badge. They don't talk about that one, but no, I think we were just both like not popular, and so then we had to fight each other to like get attention, basically. So it was kind of like the thing. We were both like at the bottom of the social standing, so it was like maybe if we get into a fight, then we'll at least have won a fight against someone else. Anyone else?
I got sucker
Spunky, you
punched
has
by
to
a
have
gay
gotten.
kid.
I was gonna say, Spunky, you have to have gotten punched by someone.
This one actually infuriates the hell out of me. So I got sucker punched on the bus home in high school by a gay kid, and he was like one of the. So I come from a town of like 900 people. The high school had like 160 people in it. I grew up in the forest. There was basically nobody there, and it was conservative hell. And so like there was no queer community. There was the one gay kid in the whole school who everyone picked on. So like I felt bad for this kid, right? To like have come out or have been outed more likely. And then now you've got to live through the rest of high school as this. And so he was riding my bus home from school one day. And I wasn't paying attention to what was going on the bus. Like you've ridden a high school bus before. It's too loud. You can only hear the person next to you. And there's people yelling. There's people saying slur. It was the South, of course. There are people saying yelling slurs at one another. It's the Wild West of like horrible white children on that bus. And so there was someone yelling gay slurs at this kid. So you faggot, some, whatever. And as this kid was getting up to get off the bus, he grabs my hair and just punches me 3 times real quick in the eyeball. And I'm like, my first instinct, because I don't fight people. I'm not a physical. This is still the only time I've ever been punched in the head in my whole life was this one time. But like at first I wanted to get up and push him, like react with violence.
Mhm.
And then I put it together in my head. I'm like, he thinks I'm the one who was saying all these slurs. Like, he walked by my seat, thought I was the one who was turning around and calling him names, and he punched me. And then in my head, my little closeted self at the time was like, but the person who was calling him that should have got punched. So I immediately stopped like to fight back, but I wasn't the one who did it. So like I was just going through this like inner spiral of like, I do want him to punch the person that did that, but it wasn't me. So I don't want to punch him because that'll mean that I disapprove of him. Anyway. So but
Yeah.
he walked off, and then I had a shiner for picture day, like my freshman year of high school.
Nice.
Oh, what a terrible happenstance.
All right. We got one final beep boop.
Oh, okay.
And now I found this one and I was like, boy, this was a late night, came up with a question, and I got to give it to you. How will you die?
Jesus.
Oh, Jesus Christ, John. Also, though, I have thought about this a lot.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't know. Do we want a joke answer or a real one?
Whatever you're comfortable with. I think a joke answer would be more fun.
Let's go with a joke answer, and we can sprinkle in some truth.
Okay.
Okay. I think there's a very good chance that I will die in the studio. If you have seen me,
Yeah.
if you have seen me do any I don't even have a guard on my table saw here.
Mm.
I have like I just have a
Oh.
blade that circles.
Does it at least have like the brake, like the electric brake on it?
Hold on. Matt, did
Come
you
on.
not build
When
a
it's
table
on,
saw
it's
one?
on, motherfucker! I got a discount with that.
Ah.
I got that for $50, man.
Matt, did you not build a table saw once by like turning a skill saw upside down?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And it was a fundamentally flawed skill saw.
No.
Yeah.
So like,
I bought
I guess the
the-
real question is, who's gonna die in the studio first? You or Matt?
Oh my God. Okay, guys.
We're gonna
Matt,
Bonnie and Clyde it.
I wish there would
Probably
be.
Louise off the
I
cliff.
wish there was like actual video cameras in this podcast studio, because like Matt has been in here doing all the work, and I can guarantee you this motherfucker has fallen off at something at some point, or you have like hit your head on something. I
hit
mean,
my head all the time.
yeah, you're just like chaos incarnate in this room.
I don't have a good sense of where my body is in physical space. So
But neither do I. I built this entire fucking wood storage thing today. Really proud of the fucking thing.
it's amazing. You guys should see it.
But I like ran into it. I was like moving all the things around, and I was trying to get here to record with you, and I walked right into it. And I'm like, this is how I fucking die. I'm gonna have a nail out somewhere, and it's gonna go in my eye, and I'm gonna die.
All right.
But you know what? She'll die, doing something she loves, and
Yeah.
I love doing stupid
Getting
shit.
stabbed in the eye.
Yeah. Die doing what you love. Being in an accident.
And I think that the truth of the matter is I probably will die of old age. I do think that I'm going to be cursed to live a stupid amount of time. I used to think the opposite. I could never see past 35. And I think now that I know who I am and the things I stand for, I do think I'm going to be the Betty White of this era.
Well, that's good.
Hell yeah.
But I think that is sad in some ways. I think you live a long enough to see a lot of people in your life that you love pass. And Keanu Reeves had the best answer to this. I don't know if any of you know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
He
yeah,
was
I think
once
it's-
asked by Stephen Colbert, what happens when you die? And his response after taking one moment of silence was, I know they're going to miss us when we're gone. And
Yeah.
I think about that constantly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that was a good answer to a difficult question. Oh, thank you for that. No, but like that's I'm trying, me heart disease. I'm sure. I'm a middle-aged white guy.
I'm going to electrocute myself.
Okay.
I know this. I tell people, like, I got a friend who told me, hey, my house is wired up with like knob and tube wiring, and I was like, oh, I'll swap it out for you for $1,000. I'm
Knob
not an
and tube.
electrician,
Yeah.
but I'll
Knob and tube's
try.
a fucking nightmare. I have people sometimes call up on the podcast asking questions about it. Nope.
Yeah. When we went to we were looking at houses before we bought this house. There was an old house in Stoughton that was built in the early 1900s that had, when we went in the attic, there was knob and tube, and my friend, who was my realtor, was like, oh, we got to ask about that. And I was like, why? And he's like, let's hope that that's not what's hooked up. And they were like, no, that they just didn't pull it out. They rewired it with the correct new wiring. The knob and tube is just in the attic because they didn't feel like pulling out all the crap. And I was like, oh,
Knob and tube, just thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
It's a literal. If that's something that's in your house and you're buying it, cha-ching, you better have money ready to go, because that's gonna be something you need to replace. AS motherfucking P, and you're gonna have a shit ton of holes in your house.
Yep.
Get ready to have your hole just be see-through.
Yeah. Well, so the friend that asked me about it, because like I've run like new modern wire, I've rewired light switches and whatever. But like he asked me about it. I was like, can you do that? And I was like, well, can I? I mean, I can run wire. He said, well, we need to drill holes. I'm like, no, we won't need to drill holes. There'll be lots of holes in everywhere. We don't have to do that part, but I'll have to take like all your walls off to do it. And then he said, okay, maybe I'll get a professional and not pay you $1,000
well,
to do
I'll have
it.
to Spanky have you come up here because I got some outlets I need to switch out. And
I do the weirdest.
I'm too scared to do it because we don't have any
grew up, like-
GFSI outlets or GFCI outlets in our kitchen and bathroom.
I grew up like building houses a little bit. Like my dad did like digging septic tanks and stuff, but they would be for houses in construction. So like I would have to help run whatever wire, whatever. So like I know how to, like, I don't know, solder. I know how to like put up drywall, hang rock. I can do basic shit like that. But then I find myself in situations where like my in 2020 my cat was sick and I needed something to distract me. And in my friend had just bought a house that was built in like 1919. And they're like, hey, we need someone to come over and redo the bathroom, and we'll pay you in beer. And I just needed to distract myself, so I went over to the sledgehammer. I just knocked out all the walls in this bathroom. So all of my like experience is just stuff I shouldn't have been doing in the first place, but now I've done it and lived. So
and now you're a maintenance technician. That's how it starts. That's how it starts.
That's quite literally mine is. Let me see if Mercury has done a video on this. Like,
Yeah.
I gotta look this up.
It's wild to me how often I'm told that someone told me today that I helped them hang something in their bedroom like 2 nights ago. And I was like, you know me in real life. You know you could just fucking ask me to help you.
Yeah.
You don't need to act like you're some civilian. You know me in real life.
Yeah. So I don't. Quizbot's done for the night. Is retired. That was his last question for the night. So I don't know if anyone else has anything else they want to bring up.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
500 episodes ago.
Yeah.
How do you feel about doing the podcast now? But how did you feel doing it on podcast number 1? Like, what's the reflection here?
Yeah, good point. All right. So I started doing it because basically I always wanted to do radio and things, and that was dying, obviously. Like do radio DJ stuff, and something I always wanted to do. And Adam and I would always stay up till 4 a.m. talking about dumb shit. And I was like listening to other podcasts like Kevin Smith's podcast and stuff that was around in like 2011. And I was like, we could do this. You just need to get microphone. The thing I wish I would have done was get a better microphone for episode 0, because I didn't know that Apple was going to put our podcast on the hot, new and notable podcast on their app, and put it as like, and get like 10,000 downloads of that first episode on the shitty onboard computer mic that we used. Because my thought was, and this is the thing that I always think about, and maybe this is some philosophy that you have as well, Mercury, is just do it. Like, don't talk about how we should do this. Just do it. What I should have done is leave that episode as the pilot unreleased and then been like, okay, I like that. Let's spend at least a little money on equipment to do this. And then like, let's do it for real.
I think that your mentality is right. Just do it is the route I would go.
Mhm.
But also just do it and find out why you're doing it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like for you, John, I mean, if you wanted to, I'm sure there was a right combination of things where if you wanted to make this show really successful, I think we would have done it.
Yeah.
I do not think that's what we wanted.
No.
I think that for this was like John having a reason to talk to friends that for whatever reason we got disconnected.
Yep.
And I really do think this was a way for us to be social butterflies over the last 12, 14 years,
Uh-huh.
but without having to leave our homes.
Yeah.
And I, back then you always were there and we came to you.
Yeah.
But even that was like, we're going over to hang out with a friend.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
how many times would we spend the night drinking beer and doing like, Doug Benson's movie game?
Yeah. Yeah.
How
yeah.
many times did we do that?
Uh-huh.
We did that constant. It was a reason.
It was literally
for
an
us
excuse to hang out.
Yes, because also you and I specifically were theater kids.
Yeah.
And for me, I stopped doing plays. I
Mhm.
stopped doing musicals. I had almost no other skills besides the fact I could turn a wrench. So, but I didn't particularly get along with the other people who knew how to turn wrenches. But all my friends were always busy with rehearsals and plays. So the only people that I could talk to were people that were interested in making content or
Mhm.
doing something that was still theatrical, but like not your
You're typical. Yeah.
yeah, and that's where our friendship came from.
Do you
But
remember?
also,
Go ahead.
but also, I think largely, I think that this show, in a lot of ways, it's been your evolution as a person and especially a compassionate human being. Like I think that if you listen to Zero,
Oh, yeah.
listen now, I think that you could probably hear the love and compassion grow through the years.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that we were raised as nihilists.
Yeah.
I think that for us, man, I really thought the worst out of people.
Yeah.
I really did. And I thought the worst about myself. And I think that as I grew older, I think that got out of me. And I think some of it's gotten out of you too.
Yeah.
Maybe in different ways. And I don't know. That's my perspective.
Thank you.
Upsettingly
think-
straight ways.
I think there is a world, a timeline, John, where you could have made this show reach more people. I don't think that's ultimately what needed to happen.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. It was maybe the first thing was like, man, we could do this and be popular because like in 2011 there was nothing in terms of podcasts.
Yeah.
So
There really wasn't.
and we had a lot of fans that were people that were not people I never met, people that would email me and that was cool. And, and that was neat. But then the point was like, I'm not making this for them. I'm making it for me and my friends and what we want to do. And what we want to do is just talk about dumb shit on the internet and record it. And that's it. And now I've said on the podcast multiple times, the ultimate goal now is to encase this in gold and shoot it out into space so that some alien in a far off universe will find this and think this is what humans were. But like,
boy, this episode's gonna confuse the fuck out of some aliens.
yeah. So no, but yeah, I don't know. And that's like my advice, like doing a podcast. And this is why you get to 500 episodes, because you do it because that's what you want to do. And don't care about what making a show, I guess. If you could make a show that's really popular, but then that's a lot of work. And so this is no work. This is me hanging out with my best friends, having a great time. And that's what it was. And I feel bad, particularly because I cut you out at one point when we had the problems.
Yeah, well, I guess that is true.
No, but there was a falling out between us, and I chose Lance, as someone to go on with the host. Partially,
I was so bitter about
and you should have been, and I'm bitter that I did it because it was the wrong choice.
I remember. Oh God, this is
No
now we're
offense
gonna
to
hit-
Lance as a person. That I
No.
mean, but
Some offense to
okay,
Lance.
you know, there's some
I
some offense to Lance, but like I think you and I are more aligned mentally in terms of what
Yeah.
you know as people. You know, but I just knew him from high school. You
I'm
know,
gonna say something that's gonna be controversial.
no way, you haven't done
It's
that
not
since
me for
episode
once.
80.
I know, right? But when I left, when I was kind of asked to leave, right, and I started doing my own things, I was very determined to be better than you. It was such a like. It wasn't even about.
So you're
I-
I'm the reason you're successful, is what you're saying. Okay,
Well,
thank you.
this actually gives me to something. I did have a thought. Oh, this is so. I like telling painful truths.
Yeah,
because I think
you
that's how we
definitely
learn
do. Yep.
about ourselves. And the painful truth is, I was a very bitter person even when I started blowing up in TikTok. And I do remember specifically hoping you knew. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, I'm blowing up. Oh, I hope John sees it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was even then, all those years later, I still had this in my heart
Yeah.
that I was like, fuck you.
And that's you know
So-
what's really
I remember going to
Yeah.
Matt and telling Matt that I was still pissed off about that 8 years, 7
Yeah.
years after it happened.
And you know what's the really interesting thing about that? And not to but I didn't like it's that moment in Mad Men where his worker is talking about like, you know, how do you sleep at night? What do you think about? And he's like, I don't think about you at all. And that's
Yeah, it's
kind of the way
I feel bad for you.
Yeah, I feel bad for you. And he says, I don't feel about you at all. And for me, the situation was I like once that happened and we stopped really talking as much as we used to, it was more of like I just didn't, not that I didn't care, but like
Yeah.
that wasn't like I wasn't ever going to get mad. I was when I found out how popular and successful you are, I was so happy for you. Like it's the exact opposite of the reaction that you thought I would
Yeah.
have.
And
Because
that's
yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
I built you up as a villain. And I had for the longest
Yeah,
time.
and that's the
But you
thing is
know-
that you think of other people this way when that like I never thought that. I only
you
ever
know-
wanted you to succeed.
But you know what actually helped warm the waters and made it possible? And I don't know if you remember this. You came to 5-Star about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And you came to one of the shows and that made me feel so seen and heard
Yeah.
because as a trans person now, you know, like specifically my show is a very radical show. I got very in people's faces about trans radical you know, stuff. Like I wasn't afraid to straight up call out people in the audience. You know, I was in your face as an angry trans person for the show. It was very much a style of the show, right? And you were ready to be there. And you were participating and having a good time. And
Yeah,
don't know,
I think
it
Adam
changed-
came too, right? I think
Yes, I think Adam
yeah,
did.
Yeah.
It was the first time in years that I felt like you were my friend again.
Yeah.
And
That's why I feel so bad about it because I obviously didn't want that to happen and it was
But
I
do you
don't know.
remember that you and I were going to do sketch comedy?
Yeah, I remember. Do you have those recordings?
Yes, I do.
Oh my god, I would kill to see
The
that.
airplane recording where it was your voiceover, right? And it was me like being a flight attendant, right? Wasn't that it?
Boy,
Wasn't
I
it-
do not remember. I remember because it was at my old job and we got like a conference room and you had like a Microsoft Surface tablet that you recorded video of us doing sketch comedy on. We're like, we could do a 2-man show, you know, and
Yeah.
coming up with like these, and we did like long form improv together. Like that was
We
so
did.
fun. God, I
we
love
did a
that.
lot together. And that was I think that was the interesting part is I think we were just at different points in our life.
Yeah.
And I really do think in a lot of ways, not to give you too much credit because you don't deserve it anyway, but I do think though, if it wasn't for that moment, if I stayed complacent with the stuff that I was doing and I didn't have a kick to like prove someone wrong or have some fire in me, I don't know what would have happened. And it wasn't I because in all my successes, John, that quote you told me at the very first littlepodcast.com variety show about you just get stuff done I was thinking that when I did a burlesque Hall of Fame.
Mm.
I was thinking that when I was putting on the Wisconsin Burlesque Festival 1, 2, and 3. I was thinking that when I started 5 Star. I was thinking that when I started TikTok. I mean, it was always in the back of my head that I knew I could get shit done because you believed in it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It is. We have a weird history in the sense that there is a lot of connective tissue.
Mm.
And I do think there's more to that than I've ever really examined. You know what I mean? Like, this was where I cut my teeth for the first time.
So, and
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, well, and thinking back now, actually, about this, I think maybe the split really came from the fact that you wanted to go do things that were going to get popular and famous and do things that had reach. And my thing was, I just kind of want to hang out, you know.
I wanted it to be better.
You were too much
remember
work.
I always
You were too.
pushing
You were.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
There
took
was
the easy
always
way.
that I wanted to always push you to make it better. And I wanted to do different segments, and I
Mhm.
wanted to do this.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
was talking about fine tuning it.
Oh yeah.
And I would get frustrated when there was dead pauses.
Yeah.
And I would get frustrated with your lack of editing. You know what I
Wow.
mean? And then we had well,
Hey, editing sucks. So.
but
Yeah.
but also, like, I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Is that, like, it really showed the difference of doing it for enjoyment, and I was doing it out of the need, almost an
Yeah.
obsessive idea.
Yeah. Which is the thing is that
Um,
I just don't think I had that drive. You know.
Yeah.
And it
And
was.
it wasn't until that drive in me died
Mhm.
when it started taking off.
Yeah.
Because every last ounce of my ego had to be
Wow.
flicked right out because COVID fucked everything.
Yeah.
COVID ruined my live shows. I was a really
Oh, man.
successful production producer. I was producing like 3 or 4 shows every given week at some point. I mean, Matt was involved in half of them, and I think I was like, half of Matt's monthly income was coming from the shows we were doing or some shit, right?
Not only that, but we had plans for spin-offs. Like, there were further expansions planned.
Yeah, we were doing a speakeasy show that was going to premiere that month. And we were doing like burlesque bingo and all this. We were just taking off. And then all of a sudden, boom, COVID literally wiped out everything. We tried pivoting to an online show.
Mm-hmm. I remember
And
this. Yeah.
I remember being so proud of this, John. So we all kind of went inside March 19th, right? That's kind of the official day, right? But on March 15th, our last live burlesque show, I was on the microphone and I told the audience we're pivoting to an online show. And within 1 week, we were already one of the very first online shows in the country in burlesque. And I remember I posted about it, and it actually went viral in like the burlesque community. It was shared like 25,000 times. It was commented on by like 10,000 people. Burlesque performers from all around the world, all of us wanted to keep it alive. The whole idea was all of us are going to go online and we're not going to give up. Boy, that lasted about a month and a half. And the depression set in so hard. And then I lost my job, essentially, that I had for over a decade. And then I didn't have burlesque anymore. I didn't have the job anymore. I couldn't get a job because I wanted to be myself. And I hadn't come out in the industry yet. So I was now, my resume said my real name and it said my pronouns. I said I was a trans woman right out of the gate. And that was 4 or 5 months of not finding a job and living on savings and unemployment and just hoping to God that it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then I get that job, and it was the worst rated property management job in the entire state of Wisconsin, 1.4 on Google. And so it was not good. It was not good. But then basically that led to me finding burlesque again and doing an online show one last time. And then people who were involved in that told me to do TikTok. And then that's what did it. So it was like this slowly dying of my dreams. It was like, okay, I got to give up on burlesque. I remember that Christmas. I don't know. I think you might have actually helped me buy tools. I don't know if you did or not. But there was one Christmas, I had a wish list of tools I needed to do my job on the property. Do you remember this?
This is sounding vaguely familiar, but I don't really remember.
I think you and Lauren might have actually bought me tools.
It's possible.
I think you might have. Because I remember I had about 30 tools that I needed in my bag because I didn't know on day one I needed to provide
Oh
my
yeah,
own tools.
of course, yeah.
And so all these years I had been like borrowing tools and whatnot. I never had my own tools. There was always tools provided for me.
Yeah.
But there you didn't. So I didn't have any of the tools I needed. So for my birthday, which was like the second week of working there or some shit, I put this wish list out and everyone bought me tools. And that was a low point for me. I was no longer asking the people to come to shows. I wasn't even thinking about shows anymore. I hung up my G string and I was done, you know?
Yeah.
And I still think about this. A friend out of nowhere told me I needed to do a live burlesque show again. And they had a production studio. And I didn't get back to them for 3 weeks. I wasn't going to do it. I told friends I was done. I called up Ruby, who helped me produce the show and was a co-producer of the show. And I told her there's no way I was coming back. I told my best friend and my spouse that, you know, I never want to be on stage again. And then for whatever reason, one day at work, I got so fed up with my fucking shitty ass boss. I wanted to be the center of attention again. And I loved doing the burlesque show that way so much. So that's what led it to it.
Yeah.
Fucking wild, dude. Just a killing of the ego.
I just want to bring this up because we've been nice to each other, but Matt is the glue. Matt is the reason I went to that 5-star tease. Like, because he was, you got to go, John. You got to go to these. You got to see this. You know,
the one consistent in our friendship has been Matt.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying Matt's the glue.
Life.
He like when go ahead.
Yeah, 18 years, Matt. Have we been friends for 18 years now?
You're asking Matt to do math?
Oh shit.
Live on air?
17, 18, something like that.
Yeah. Guys, we've known each other for 18 years.
So fucking long. I've known you for like half my life now. Because I was like,
wow,
18, 19.
Almost 20. We've almost known each other for 20 years.
Because were you 1 year below me in college or two?
I started, did I start 06 or 07, Matt? Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I started in 04.
I started 05. You were my RA. Well, you were the RA.
So then
I was an RA in your building. Yes.
Then I must have started. Well, I started the same year Lauren did. What year did Lauren start?
No, you didn't start the same year as Lauren. No way. She's 4 years younger than me. Yeah. No. I think whatever. Regardless, we knew each other for a couple of years, so it's been 15 years ish.
Yeah. Well, crazy. Closer to 20, but yeah.
I don't want to think about it that way, but
John, you started college 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Next year it'll be 20 years.
Wild.
Yeah. So but I'm just really glad that you were able to come on tonight and reconnect. And I just wanted to say more nice things about Matt though before we end, because you said so many nice things about me.
Yeah, no, Matt's been a consistent present in our life, and I don't know what I would do.
Well, he just gets things done as well. I could say the same thing for Matt. Like, he just fixes things. He knows how to do things that I could never know.
I have said this.
He stuck around on the show when Adam left and Lance left, and
when
then
I was
TJ came in as well. I got to throw TJ some love.
There was a moment that when I was going through my marriage. Do you remember my first marriage?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely awful that was. I didn't have a place to live for like 5 months, 6 months. I don't remember. And I lived on Matt's couch.
Wow.
I had nowhere to go, and he was the only person that would have me.
Yeah.
And I really didn't have a whole lot of friends at that point. And if it wasn't for him, I still don't know what I would do. And it was a really rough time in my life. And that was the moment where I knew I was going to be stuck with him for the rest of the year. You know, that you can't do that. You can't do that nice of something to somebody and then not have them like want to support you. You know. But Matt, from the moment that we started 5-Star, was always my sound person,
Yeah.
always on the God mic. He's done every podcast I've ever done, like every single incorporation of the shows I've done. Matt has been involved in some aspect. And now he's an employee of the company that I started.
Yeah.
So 5
awesome.
employees, and he's one of them. It's absolutely nuts. Who would've
Cool.
thought?
That's
Thank
awesome.
you for all of the nice things you've said.
I love that Matt is like, so like I'm kind of the outlier in the Born in the 80s podcast because I'm not born in the 80s, but also like I'm just some guy that TJ knew 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and I ended up here.
Barely knew. I'm just
Yeah, no, we were like we had spoken like one time. I was starting a shitty podcast, and he's like, "You should guest on my shitty podcast." TJ had just been on the podcast for like a year.
Yeah.
And he started as a fan. He just wrote in, and then
Yeah.
eventually we're like, "Yeah, come on."
I
but-
emailed. I was read an episode.
Well, I mean, I
6,
knew
and
TJ.
it
I knew
was pretty good.
TJ from college. So we had been
Yeah.
roommates for a bit.
Yeah.
So
So TJ yanked me in, but I've been kind of an outlier because I don't have a lot. I wasn't a theater kid. I'm just a tech. I would say that I was a STEM guy, but I dropped out of college too many times to really get that as a label. But like my favorite thing about Matt is that one, we don't have the same sleep schedule at all, and he would be interested in learning something that I knew about, like learning C# code or something like that. So I would get a direct message from Matt at like 3 a.m. like, "Hey, how do I do this library in C#?" And it's kind of like getting a text from a loved one, and then you wake up to it and you see it, except for it was like a deranged, sleep deprived 30-something man asking me how to write code. It was really beautiful.
I like
just
how
really
we
appreciate our
started this
relationship.
being a compliment from Matt, and I don't know if that was quite a compliment.
I appreciate it. I thought it was a very important part of my life.
There you go.
You're welcome to interpret it as an insult if you want. I won't take that away from you.
It is interesting that the 5 of us, after 500 episodes, somehow all got together. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, this is an interesting, because I don't know the two of you at all.
I'm just some guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just some
Spanky
guy he
or
knows.
TJ at all. Yeah, and I think that this is interesting, but this whole conversation tonight has felt like all of us have been friends for 15
Yeah.
years.
Mhm.
And I find that interesting that even after all this times, John, the central thesis of this show has never wavered. It's still when friends get together to have a good time to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
With
That's
bad
all I
editing.
ever wanted. And it's badly edited. Yeah. And it's at some points upsettingly straight.
That whole
mean-
thing should just be the tagline.
I mean, there is
Right,
one more
right.
thing that John wants because he's still pining for the pile.
Oh, yes. Pining for the pile. Adam's pile.
Oh, yeah.
That's a reference. Don't worry about it. TJ's
It's
the
fine.
the
I
reference.
don't even get that. Reference.
I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. but
It's
it sounds
old school,
very
born in
sexual.
the 80s.
Oh,
Yeah. It was Adam's old apartment. They just left piles of garbage, and John once visited him. Was like, "Can we just build a pile again?"
Yeah. I used to hang out late night and Adam recording the podcast back in the day, and we would order shitty takeout food or whatever, and we would just be he wouldn't take stuff out to the garbage can. He would leave it in a pile in his room, and we would just add to the pile, and we would like stack up pizza boxes and this pile. And I always, it's a weird memory, but I loved the pile. The garbage pile. And when I visited him years ago, when he moved away, we had to build a garbage pile again while we were hanging out for a few days. So I do reminisce. I wish I could have gotten Adam on. I didn't message him. I should have, but
We did.
I wish I could have Adam on. I didn't tell him.
I didn't make any effort to make it happen.
you're right. You're right. The thing is, I've been sick for like a week, and I was really happy this could be.
This is a perfect example of the like Mercury makes stuff happen. John doesn't even send Adam a message.
But also, I want to point out though, John sent me like 5 messages and 2 texts. And if John did not persistently get a hold of me, I wasn't going to come on. Because like I was so burnt out.
Oh yeah.
I got home on Wednesday night at like 11.
Yeah.
The next day we had the ABC interview. And I think while I was doing the ABC interview, I think you texted me.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck you, John. There's no way.
Yeah.
I was like, no
Like-
way, buddy.
And
I go
the
through
thing
this
is- Go ahead.
every single week. John will do like a at everyone in the podcast channel, like, and I'm like, fuck you, John.
What time are we
Yeah.
doing this? What time?
Yeah.
You just got to be consistent. I
But
got to
then you
bug
do it,
people.
and it feels less like an appointment than it does when you get asked
Yeah.
than while you're doing it.
Yeah.
It is an achievement to hit 500 shows.
Yeah.
And I know we give you shit.
500
But,
downloads,
like-
500 shows.
Honestly, it's absolutely. times
Yeah.
is wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
But anyways, would you do it 500 more?
Yeah. In a
So
heartbeat.
you think in another 15 years we'll do another 1,000?
I think so.
You've already said you're dying of old age, so you got to be around.
Yeah, you're going to be around.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be here for at least 5,000.
Yeah. Oof, oof.
At least.
I don't know about that, but
You'll be
Yeah,
the
I
only
get-
one left who was born in the 80s. By then it'll all be like,
No,
now it'll be the one guy who was born in the 80s or the one
Shit.
gal that was born in the 80s.
guys, that's the goal.
Yeah.
One of us has to be the last person ever to be born in the. That's how long we have to
Done.
live for.
Oh,
Done.
And also, I already have an advantage because I was the one who was born the latest
Yeah.
in the 80s. I was born in 87. Matt was born in 86.
Yeah.
Matt,
85.
John, in 85.
TJ's
TJ's
84.
old as shit.
84.
Okay, so the chances are, if we rolled our dice right, and now I'm a woman, so I live longer. I think.
That's how it works.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's actually why I turned
I see.
trans,
Yeah.
everybody. That's why I wanted 3 more years.
Yeah.
We've-
There's a
we've
one
done-
weird trick.
We've discovered the agenda. We got it.
The trans agenda is just to live longer.
3 years longer on average.
Yeah. Now the sad reality is the life expectancy for trans women. not so-
Ooh. Well, but you're gonna break the mold. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, born in the okay. So that's like it reminds me of our Deadpool that we did
Oh yeah.
long ago. Kirk Douglas Steal the Draft. Where we did that. But so now, yeah, we're gonna all not die until
Really, the born in the 80s.
yeah. No, God no.
Yeah.
Dibs on Lance.
Yeah. That's kind of.
I don't know.
You are older.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not talk about that. That's way too dark to end
David,
episode
were we
500 on.
did.
Wrapping up the podcast.
This
We
is
were.
what aging is. Talk about death.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Don't get old.
Yeah,
Spanky,
who's back?
don't get old.
Whose back hurts the worst? Mine. I can't kneel down without.
Oh,
help.
well, you
yeah.
got tits now, so like I feel like you're at unfair disadvantage.
Yeah, you got the back pain.
It is true. My lower back is always an issue now.
I threw
Um,
out my back this summer
Oh,
doing
no.
nothing. I think I sneezed. Like literally,
Oh,
I was in the most excruciating pain. I went to the doctor. Like, we got to do like scans. Maybe you like ruptured your appendix or something. This pain is like, no, everything's fine. You just pulled the muscle in your back, like so hard. Like, why?
oh,
Don't do this. Don't get old.
yeah. Backs are so crucial.
Yeah.
Like, man, the first time I threw my back out, I was 28 and I was painting an entire bathroom. And I had painted like 6 bathrooms in like 3 days or some shit. And I was like on a tear. I was doing great. And then one bathroom, I could feel something
Mm.
just fucking wrong. But I was on a tear. I didn't want to give up.
Yeah.
And like 15 minutes in, I was on the ground, just like I could not keep going.
Yeah.
I was out of work for like 2 weeks because of that. Yeah.
Man,
Anyways-
we gotta end in something fun after this
Yeah,
now.
okay. Okay.
What's
fine.
really fun? You always can bring the fun.
Okay. Oh, all right. What a responsibility. Okay. What is your favorite DIY project you guys have ever done?
Ooh.
And I will grade it. I'll grade
Oh,
it.
okay. Mine's gonna be really simple because of how satisfying it was. But I got a
Oh.
3D printer because Matt got me into 3D printing, and I have shelves in my kitchen, and they have those plastic peg things to hold the shelf up, and one of them got lost, and so I had a shelf that was wobbly, and I went and designed and 3D printed a peg to put in my shelf, and it's like this much plastic, a tiny amount. But I was like, and now my shelf is stable because I did that.
3D printers are wild.
Yeah.
I have said this before, but they're in every fucking shop in America, in every tool shop, there should be a 3D printer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because it really is. How many times is there a part that's missing?
Yep.
That was a piece of
I need a little
cheap
clip.
plastic
Yeah.
that I could have easily have made on a fucking
3D printer and CAD classes, like learning how to design in CAD, like little
Yeah.
3D models.
I am so happy that I took CAD when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I learned how to do shop stuff and stuff too. Like
Mm.
I almost didn't do it because it was that or home ec. And I chose shop class over home ec. So I can't cook, but I can fix something.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anyone
Okay,
else?
but you guys? Favorite DIY project?
Matt, is yours the table saw you made out of a skill saw?
I'm trying to think of a DIY project that I finished.
That is the hard part.
That's real. That's so real, dude.
I think probably by default it's that stand that the TV's sitting on right now.
I'm gonna say something really gay. My favorite DIY project I ever did is the next one. The next one's always my favorite.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not even joking. Too, I get fucked. I will lose my shit over it. Like,
that's cool.
I've been spending the last 2 months hoping that I can get to the studio to build that stupid wood storage.
That's going to kill you. Yeah.
Everything I've heard about you makes me think that is the perfect answer though, because like every time like Matt or John has told me a story about you, it's like, yeah, she'll get into like podcasting or puppeteering, and that's all that she fucking lives for like a while. So like if it's DIY, I can see the next one, because like you've got to have stuff like boiling up in there, just like you're ready to get to.
Yeah, with the puppets, I learned how to do shadow puppetry. I learned how to do marionettes. I learned how to do like all different kinds of puppets. Now, I didn't do any of it super well, right? But I wanted to learn and I stupidly good at something. That made me go, I was all in. Within 3 years of starting burlesque, I was already competing at the Burlesque Hall of Fame, which is like a Super Bowl of burlesque. So
Yeah.
fucking wild. I'm very lucky. Anyways, DIY project. Stop deflecting. Tell me what you
Yeah,
think.
okay. I was thinking about it. So like, here's the thing. I moved into this house. There's a detached garage, and the people that owned the place before me were fucking psychopaths. And they built in the garage. They tore out the attic, and they built from the top of the building to the bottom a like rock climbing wall that was difficult to climb on. Like it took up the whole garage. So
No
like
way.
yeah, so like I'm not a rock climbing person, and also wasn't even like a fun kind of rock climbing wall. It was like a try hard midlife crisis kind of rock climbing wall that was like difficult and angled and stuff, and of course there's concrete floors in there, so like if you fell off you just break something. Anyway, I moved in, couldn't have that because I needed a place to put my lawnmower. So I guess my DIY thing was dismantling the rock climbing wall, and then and rather than just because like they had torn out so much of the attic that I was worried the building would fall over once because I thought it was a load bearing rock climbing wall. Yeah, and so I built a vaulted ceiling into the garage out of nothing. And sometimes I reused pieces of the rock climbing wall as support. So like taking my fucked up garage and giving it a ceiling again is probably my favorite DIY, because now I still have a garage.
Cool.
That's a good one.
I was going to do a cop out because my dad's an electrician and I'm afraid of electricity. So I was going to talk about this dimmer switch I had installed to replace one that was kind of sucking. But years ago, I built the bunk bed for my oldest two kids. And the ladder and the railing over time aren't holding very well because the kids have gotten older. There's extra weight on it. It's, it hasn't been holding in there no matter if I replace the screws, no matter what I filled it with. But finally this past summer I had picked up some wood filler putty, which didn't feel like it was specifically meant for being able to like screw into, and it didn't feel like it was something that was gonna hold. because it said, get it in, get it in there, go ahead and start screwing into it. And it felt still loose, like it was gonna pull, but I let it sit for like 20 minutes, and this thing's been holding for months. I'm super excited, super happy.
If it doesn't hold, okay, if it eventually gives up, try a doll or toothpicks.
I've tried the toothpicks on this thing.
The toothpicks didn't work.
Yeah,
the doll would supposedly work if you
Yeah.
use wood glue. If you don't use wood glue, it's not doing much.
I think that was the issue with the toothpicks, is I need something, more than that. Something
That toothpick video that you put out, by the way, I have used.
Yeah.
It is a
have you?
great idea because I have a older house where there's just wood that is given away a little bit, and then you just wood glue in some toothpicks and let it cure, and then screw into it.
A Gulf tee works even better. I would walk around with toothpicks on my bibs. And that's how I fixed a shit ton of stuff. I always had stuff on me, and I was like going in people's apartments and fixing something that they wanted me to, and then asking if they wanted me to fix something else. Like, I'm here, I might as well just, fix that doorknob real quick, anyways.
But I think we should end, though, because we're getting close to 2.5 hours here. So
yeah.
Okay.
As long as the episodes are long, let's do that. But we can't go too long. I could talk to you for 8 more hours, but it's just,
especially for the 500 episode, we're not going for 500 hours.
No. What we should have done is
we're gonna raise $500 million.
We should have done another power hour, like we did in episode 100.
Oh yeah, I don't drink anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't drink anymore.
I can't drink because of a medication I'm on.
Oh my god! So wait, all of us, guys,
Spanky can drink.
Instead of alcohol, we'll just be drinking Metamucil, taking our medicine.
Shit, this is what Boring 80s has come to. Because when Boring 8, oh shit, John,
Metamucil fiber capsules.
You know what is? I know we need to wrap up, John, but you know what's funny? We haven't brought up
Aspirin.
Is that when we started this episode, Born in the 80s was kind of funny because it was like the name of the show itself is like, yeah, I know that's hip and fun because everyone is in there. Now we're like almost our 40s at this
We're
point.
no longer the demographic.
Yeah, we're
Born
no
in the 80s years ago was like, oh, these are the mid-20s hip people.
Yeah, and now if kids who are like Gen Z, and as someone who 22% of her audience is people who are under the age of 24.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, John, they would hate this name. If I post about this on Instagram, you are going to get made fun of so hard. They're so mean.
Yeah.
So mean.
I did see, I saw, I think it was Elijah Schlesinger did a post about like millennials like telling Gen Z people, be nice to us. We were the most hated generation, and now you can't hate on us too. We like you. You're cool.
Something I see constantly is Gen Z people going, "Oh, that's so millennial," and I hate that. I hate it. It kills my soul.
We're not old enough to be boomers yet.
Yeah, like leave me alone. I just figured out I was a lady 4 years ago. Let me have this.
Yeah, my best friend is a Gen Z, and I can't remember what it was the other day, but I had said something to her, and she just responded with like, "Yep, you're definitely in the generation above me." And she's like, "Oh no!"
Oh,
yeah.
I recently learned what cap means. It means bullshit.
Oh, cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to look that up.
Yeah. There's a lot of terminology like that I've had to learn because of TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Base. You ever hear base?
Yeah, based. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know what that was until I started TikTok.
Based, as in based in fact.
Yes,
Yep.
100%. But I didn't know that, Yeah. I will say when I found out about millennial gray, it destroyed my life.
Oh my God. I rip on
I
that
can't
shit so constantly. I hate it.
And now I can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh my God, everything is, what have we done? What have we done?
Spanky's millennial gray room that he's in right now.
Do you want me to do a walkthrough of my whole house?
Oh no, Spanky, I'm so sorry, honey.
The best thing though is that I'm colorblind, so like it wouldn't really be that much better if I painted it
fair
for
enough.
me. No, that's the first thing John said when he walked into my house. Actually, was, "Oh, millennial gray, huh?"
Oh, John, you're still so great.
My house is built, my house was built in the 70s, and it was probably, I'm assuming, repainted
Boomer Brown.
in that. So I'm in the yellows and beige era.
Oh, the yellows.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen your house yet.
Yeah, you haven't. I've seen your apartment. I don't know if you moved since then. But
Oh no, I
Yeah.
moved.
Okay.
I moved. But you know what? Once I get my house in the next like 6 to 7 months, John, we'll do like a tradesies.
Yeah.
we'll hang out.
Yeah.
You know, we'll take
do
turns.
yeah, I would love that because
Yeah.
it's
I
been-
didn't even get to say it. The one of the reasons that patched everything up between you and I is that you helped me out with my internet.
that's true.
When I was first blowing up, I had no idea what to fucking do, but my internet was trash.
Yeah, and you
And
had
John
to like
was
upload.
the person who came. Yeah. You came over and kind of saved the day.
I knew that because I'd specifically had similar problems with the Charter Internet or Spectrum or whatever it was, and I was like, "Oh, I did this shit and it fixed it."
Th-
So I could
this
come
was
over to your
two-
place and fix it.
It was 2 months in doing content full time.
Yeah.
And I was so scared I was fucking everything up.
Yeah, your like live streams weren't working because the upload speed. and
Yeah,
all
they
that
were
was bad.
freezing, and they were my base. They were my one way of like making sure we like drove traffic to
Yeah.
my videos.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking so we end.
Well, the lesson is for Born in the 80s is be good to people and be good to your friends and support them. And
Yeah.
500 episodes later, they'll still be there.
And take your ibuprofen because your back's hurting right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Talk to your doctor about your blood pressure.
Tylenol,
Do some
dual
stretching
action.
every day.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Advil dual action.
Yeah.
I had
All good. All right.
Tylenol PM. I'm actually sponsored by Tylenol PM. So shit, let's take it back. No, take your Tylenol PM.
Tylenol
kids.
PM's the
Take it
right
all
stuff
day,
right
every
there.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. And I fix it too. I saw you did I fix it. I fucking love that tool set.
Tylenol PM, iFixit, Lowe's. I'm sponsored by a sex toy company. I forgot what the name of it is.
It's okay. You're
Matt,
you're
what
on the
else have I-
spot.
Matt, what else have I done?
Snug plugs, pop
Oh
socket or whatever. That
no,
thing
I was never sponsored by them, but I have pushed them pretty hard.
Mm.
But Snug Plug, yeah, no, we do like a pretty good sponsorship with Snug Plug. Which actually sounds like a sex toy, actually.
I'd assumed that's what it was.
It's not. Snug Plug is actually great for okay.
It's the electrical
this is
socket
not-
thing.
This is not a sponsorship, okay? This is just me telling you the truth. This is a little plastic device, okay, that is heat resistant, okay? It goes into your socket. So if you have a loose plug, right? Hotels, airports, businesses, and you want to just charge your phone real quick, they go in really easy and they make sure that your fucking thing is not going to fall out.
Sounds
I
like a sex
would
toy
not-
still.
Yeah. I do not necessarily think they're great for apartments.
Yeah.
I think temporary use is
Yeah.
really the important thing.
But like I
I-
saw your video on it. It's like traveling with like a charger plug that just falls out. And it's
yeah,
like
no,
quick fix.
one of the constant things is I've done 4 videos on Snowplug and every single one has gone viral.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of those things where everyone knows what a fucking loose outlet's like. But no one has actually solved something where you don't actually have to replace the outlet. Because the only way you can really fix it is if you take apart the whole outlet and replace the pins.
Mhm.
Because there's pins inside of the socket that are holding all the metal pieces that are like kind of pushing the plug into place. But those pins will go bad over time.
Yeah.
The more you take a plug in and out is actually causing the problem.
Mhm.
People will always ask me what causes that, and use does. You're not
Yeah.
actually supposed to unplug the things that you're unplugging all the time. And out like plugs for like phones are huge for that.
Mhm.
Because I
Yeah.
don't know any of us that keep the phone in one spot all the time. We
It's just the
keep
bedroom.
charger everywhere. Yeah.
Just the bedside table plugs the only one that
But
stays in.
Those outlets, most outlets are not designed to have it unplug and put back in
Mhm.
every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they fail.
Well, cool. All right, we got to end now. That's why I said we should end like 30 minutes ago because I knew it would take. Because I know Mercury and myself, we just won't stop talking. So,
Mhm.
thanks everyone for listening. 500 episodes down, 500 more. Who will be the last one who was born in the 80s? We'll know. Tyler, or not Tyler. Oh my God, the fuck is wrong? You did it to yourself earlier. Sorry. Mercury.
John.
It's fine. John was referring to the rival.
That's true. I was referring to your rival. I got you confused with your rival. That'll keep you motivated They'll keep you motivated for another 10 years. But no,
Yeah,
Mercury, you'll keep getting it done because you always
I
do.
love you.
And hopefully we can talk again in the future. But I know you're busy. So thank you for being able to join us, though.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.